We're just lining up here for the beginning of the historic touring cars. They're doing a 15-lap race, which is going to be a big one to start the day off. And then we've got a full field running through the same field of races as we did earlier in the day. So welcome back, everybody, and enjoy the afternoon. And so we will hopefully get these cars out on the grid very shortly and enjoy some afternoon racing.
Historic touring cars is, I guess, a category that caters from cars from the early 70s, from Group 2 cars, Group 5 cars from the 70s, Group A cars from the 1980s, right into super tourers from the 1990s. And we've got a cut-off date of year 2000 that will allow cars to run. So surprisingly, there's not a huge difference in lap times between all of those cars. Now, the car I bought about 6 years ago, we found it in Singapore, and it hadn't run for over 20 years. So it needed a lot of restoration work. Along the way, we sort of discovered it was a proper factory race car, so we put it back into that livery. Calvin Burt was the guy who drove this car in 1995. He was one of the works Ford drivers. So it was Paul Radisich and Calvin Burt were the factory drivers in the 1995 BTCC. After it was a works car, they took the V6 engine out. Together with Mount Tune, they came up with a 4-cylinder engine program using the YB Cosworth engine, naturally aspirated, of course. So it ran in Southeast Asia for a couple of years in that configuration. It's 300 horsepower at 8,500 RPM. So it's basically right on the money of what the V6 was producing. So the car, apart from the engine, it's mostly original running gear. I raced it for the first time a couple of weeks ago at Hampton Downs, and it was always the plan if I didn't break the car to bring it down here. So glad to say it's still in one piece, and I was really looking forward to bringing it down here and running it at Scope. It's also good for the spectators because they're quite spectacular cars to see, and most people who saw them racing back in the day will agree that it was some of the best saloon car racing ever.
We've got the red lights are on. I'm watching. Green, we got green.
Nigel Way in the Honda Accord getting a good start, but there's 500 plus horsepower disappearing off down the straight versus 300 odd in the Honda.
Very well predicted, Nigel. In fact, the Sierra's definitely got the jump on everybody. He's got a good jump on our car, which is good.
Well, the most
as far as he's concerned.
Most pleasing thing is they all got through that turn 1, turn 2 complex without anyone rubbing panels. At least if you go back, watch the old videos of the British touring cars, there would have been somebody stuck in the kiddie litter already.
So
young Mr. Black diving down the inside there at the hairpin of Phil Major. So the talk of the M3 coming out rear-wheel drive versus the wheel spin of the front drive. The next one will be Bruce having a go on Phil. Chris trying to keep his lead out there. The Honda is going to be so much quicker through the centre part of the circuit.
See, with the speeds those guys are going, and everything's not being very hot because they only did a couple of slow laps, is very, very commendable. Down through the Southern Salvage, and you're right, that gap has closed up a wee bit, Nigel, but I think the bit's between the teeth as far as Chris Hyde is concerned.
It's going
long way to go.
Take 2 or 3 laps for the Honda to get the rear tyres up to temperature. Being front-wheel drive, a lot of difficulty. And hang on, it's Bruce Miles. He's back right off, and looks like he's heading to pit lane. That is a disappointment. That is very sad. Thought he was going to add some spice to the race.
Yeah, well, we expected that.
He's got the 635. Conrad Tim's having a dive We've got 12 laps. Are the back tyres going to hang on, and the Sierra is going to be the thing for Chris as the Honda gets its tyres warmed up. I think it's going to close the gap. The lap times from qualifying in the top 10 showed that it was a quicker car overall.
Well, it's interesting. Chris Hyde's quickest was 134. Cowles is 135. Aaron Black's is 136, and then Phil Majors is 137. So, yeah.
Well, then you can carry on with Angus at a 38, and then you've got Lindsay at a 39. So we all know that they're capable of going quicker than that, and you can see there Nigel's closed right up on the Sierra. Tyres obviously coming into temperature. We talked yesterday about Nigel Arkell's experience both here in New Zealand as a teammate to Paul Radisich back in the New Zealand touring car days, but also in Europe. So he knows how to read a race, how to look after his car.
So down into the front straight they come. We're looking at the leaders. Oh, that's Foggy going through in the 635. The gap is 0.8 of a second for the gap. But I could listen to that 635 all day, couldn't you?
Fabulous. Kevin Pateman howling along too in the V6 Telstar. Doing a fabulous job. Trying to get a big lock up down here. Big lock up down in the T1 complex. I think that was Lindsay in the Volvo.
In the meantime, let's look at the leaders on the screen that I was seeing on the live screen, and that gap was pretty close between first and second as they come through the hairpin.
You look at the braking capability of the Honda as they went into the hairpin, closed up the gap, and then you look at the grunt there of the Sierra as they go through the wee flip-flop into Fulton Hogan.
Those on live stream will see how close our Cal is now to Chris Hyde, right in underneath his exhaust pipe.
Just got down the inside having a look, but no. Chris shuts the door. I was going to say, be a brave man, try and go down the inside of there. Chris knows where to place the car. You can't do as many laps around here as he has without knowing where all the bumps and bits and pieces are. Everyone's spacing out a bit here, which I think the battle could end up being between the two BMWs, the Bastos Fina car and the DHL car.
So it'll be 9 laps to go when they cross the start-finish line. That gap was still 8.5 seconds. Sorry, 0.8 seconds. 0.8 seconds.
Is he pulling to the inside, having a crack down the inside of Conrad and the Mondeo, side by side through one. Discretion plays the part there. Chris stretching the legs through length. Once more, you watch this for the Honda's braking capabilities. Fabulously set up in that department, the Honda. Twin 4-pot calipers on the front, little single pots on the rear.
Basically, they've settled down into quite a sort of an order, haven't they, really? Because you've got the first two having a wonderful fight out front, and they really are. That Arkell's all over him like a rash as they're coming around through Christchurch Casino Carousel. Interesting corner.
He's going to have another dive up the inside.
No. But the battle just behind them is pretty amazing too, with Black and Phil Major.
Angus having a bit of a lonely run on his own, but the Mondeo and the Volvo scrapping away, and then as we said before, the two E36 BMWs, hopefully they can get bumper to bumper and go from there.
Onto the front straight, it'll be 8 once they cross the line. What could be heating up in the Sierra Nige that's going to cause problems, or you reckon it'll be all okay for 12 laps?
The rear tyres can hang in there. You know, they're not a big rim, not a big contact patch, so crutch strap a big tighten and have a go somewhere,
as it were.
He's going to have to take his pass. At some point in time, the front of the Sierra is going to walk away from the decline in a straight line.
Yeah, down into the carousel. It'll
running.
trying to do the over and under. He's trying to sort of psych Chris High to go wide, which he does, but he gets the straight line speed again as they're coming into Southern Salvage. Once again, as you could throw a tea towel over the pair of them. That was...
as long as the tea towel's not required after to mop up the tears, we'll be okay.
Yeah.
Doing what they
We had a wonderful little shot of Angus Fogg going very sideways through the S's on the live stream, which was definitely enjoyable.
See the corner speed of the Honda. No choice but to pull out of the draft there rather than run up the back, but then the Sierra climbing up through the gears, 6-speed H-Pack Hollinger gearbox.
So just running through the top 10 at the moment, it's Chris Hyde from Markel, from Black, Major Fogg, Timms, Lindsay O'Donnell, Murray Cleland, Steve Kelly and Kevin Pateman in the Ford Telstar. So once again down into the hairpin, you reckon this could be where Cal could take him?
It's going to be the best place for him. The acceleration of the Sierra, as you see, even on the wee short straights, once it gets boogieing, it just disappears. Not sure what's happened there. The Lindsay's got the Mondeo, the DLH car with Cleland is caught up to the back of the Mondeo, and the Fina Bastos car seems to be locking brakes everywhere. He did that a moment ago. Down
watch this drag race at the moment, down towards Southern Salvage. How long can they keep this up for? It's going to be 6 laps. It's going to be half distance when they cross the start-finish line.
Have to keep it up for another 12 laps. That's what people have paid good money to come through the gate to see. So let's hope that they do. The Honda, again, right in the draft. But nothing you can do about the 500 odd horsepower versus 300.
That gap incidentally was down to half a second when they crossed the stripe. So
Truth be known, he was a lot closer as they went under brakes into turn 1. The Sierra stretches its legs again, going through towards Link. The next thing that's going to come into play is going to be the traffic with the Alfa Romeo there of Dennis Ham. Schedule S New Zealand touring car.
yes, that will definitely complicate the issues, I would have thought.
As long as it doesn't overcomplicate. So this is where coming round into the carousel.
Ham goes. I thought Ham was going to go wide and let them through. There'll be blue flags flying everywhere, I would have thought. Down into that front straight. Yep, he lets them through. While driven by the Alfa Romeo pilot.
Fair bit of a gap before Nigel will get that opportunity again in the Honda. But I would say the Sierra is starting to push the limits of its rear tyre. You can just see he's not in the last lap having the same gains that he's had previously.
Right, 5 laps to go. Can those back tyres hold up? That's the question, really, I guess, that will go through Chris Hyde's mind. The blue flags are flying, which this is an interesting thing because it's normally when there's a fast car approaching, but anyway, not a fast car trying to get past you. Down towards the Euromark hairpin they come. Once again, that's not a very big gap. Right in behind him comes Arkel. He'll know that every bit of sign writing on the back of that Sierra off by heart. In fact, at 3 o'clock in the morning, he'll wake up and he's still seeing it.
Closing up a bit there on 5th with Angus. The Volvo right up there. Unfortunately, the Mondeo, the Valvoline car of Conrad Timms, seems to be slowing dramatically down there. That's unfortunate. The Honda just once more sitting behind. I think yeah, have a look at the way Chris is driving the Sierra, keeping it nice and straight. He's not sliding the car around, so he's trying to preserve the tyres as much as possible.
We've got another car slowing down. Is that the Volvo?
No, that's the Conrad Tim's Mondeo.
Oh, okay, it is too,
In the
sorry.
background, the Volvo is actually attacking the back of
Angus Fogg, yes.
635.
Similar paint jobs. 4 laps of frustration to go for Nigel Arkell. You're right, the Volvo is all over the back of the 635.
So the big old heavy 635 starting to work the rear tyres a bit too much. Arkell once more not quite within striking distance down to the hairpin. Close the gap, but not in a position to actually execute the pass. He's going to have to do something brave.
Aaron Black then merge, and then the Angus Fogg and Lindsay O'Donnell battle, and Lindsay O'Donnell has taken it round the hairpin. Will Foggy come back at him? I can guarantee he's not going to let him go. Murray Clallan's also there in the BMW 320.
Nigel once more having the better exit out of the carousel, but not really able to do anything with it. So he's going to have to change his tactics or do something a little bit different.
But you can guarantee these guys aren't taking it seriously. They're not playing with each other, I'm very, very sure. The gap's still only about half a second when the last time they went over the stripe.
And looking at the lap times on the monitor, you know, they're way off their actual qualifying pace. That can happen where they're too busy racing, too busy defending, and actually costing themselves lap time. Arkell needs to be as close as he is now as 3 or 4 car lengths as he exits 2, but then you see the Sierra rocket away.
Down into Euromark hairpin once again. It's very, very close. That's where Arkell gets him every time. He gets tucked in behind him. And as you were saying, Nigel Barclay, that the handling difference with the front and rear drive cars is very, oh, he's close. He's looking on the inside. Chris has to slam the door, move across. There's really little chance of passing through those S's down there. So back again they come.
Would take a mistake from Chris. You know, the weight difference will be starting to come into account as well. The Honda down less than 1,000 kgs. The Sierra must be up somewhere around 1,200.
Arkell is really onto it this time.
But then you see the horsepower come into play. Good to see the Jag still going. He had some problems yesterday, but still out there howling away.
Absolutely fabulous looking car. This is I was going to say a side by side, but no, Chris manages to get the exit speed right.
Looking further back, Angus is now fallen back behind Murray Clallan, so that's a good drive by Murray in the E36 Super Touring. Lindsay's going to have a go at Phil. They're beside each other, so they better be nice.
Yeah, the Volvo's quickest lap of 1:32.9, so Lindsay O'Donnell holds the lap record as far as this race is concerned.
What have we got yellow flashing lights over there?
No, that's just on the crew, the rescue crew.
Having a look again at Hyde, but nothing he can do there.
Through the carousel side by side. Chris always goes a wee bit wide and then gets the faster line out of the corner of the carousel. Arkell goes wide. Chris puts his Sierra right in the right spot. There's no gap there. Interesting because if you go through the school, which is very, very good with Chris Hyde, he will say that where to put the car during those S's, but he's not been able to do it for the fastest line because he's defending. Last lap board comes out. He's had 11 laps of looking at the back end of a Sierra. I tell you what, they can both be very proud, Nigel, can't they?
Indeed, nice to see good close racing, respecting both the machinery and we do have to remember they're not there to crash and bash. That's the closest Nigel's been going down there, but Sierra once more.
Just coming under the he does it.
Big dive.
I was just wondering about the Jag being there because the Jag was on the outside, and whether Chris hesitated, we'll never know, but Arkell was very quick to grab the moment and pushes through, takes the lead with half a lap to go.
We've seen the pace of the Sierra and its ability to pull away, so whether it's going to be close enough, Nigel's really going to have to work hard through the carousel, through the old S's here, to be able to hold the Sierra out.
What an amazing race, though, isn't it? Hasn't it been 12 laps of excitement, especially with these front two cars? And as you say, Chris has been soundly beaten at that hairpin, and that's going to be the story of the race, I think.
Yeah, I'd say the poor old Sierra's worn its rear tyres, put
yes,
them out of their optimum operating temperature, and the thing will be wheel spinning and kicking and bucking. So the Honda, that was entertaining. Well done to Nigel Arkell and his guys down there.
Well, a difference of 0.8 of a second, so that's after 12 laps, it was just absolutely astounding. Well done, the Archibalds Historic Touring cars. Just to run through them, Arkell, Hyde, Black, O'Donnell, Phil Major drifting back into 5th spot. Angus Fogg beats Barry Cleland across the line.
Stephen Kelly's stayed out there. Here he comes now, and the Bastos car, Kevin Payton, that's a good result to get in the top 10. Matthew O'Donnell in the B&H BMW. Young man that just previously in the day was awarded the John Fairhall Trophy by his fellow competitors for comradeship and a good attitude towards his racing, so good to see him get a nice finish as well.
Yeah, got a TC came through in 11th spot, and the other 635.
Fantastic to see Trevor out there racing. What a wonderful human being, and a credit to himself that he's still out there.
Well, he hasn't been well, so it's really lovely to see that he's still out there, and he's still that same amicable chap who he's always been. Thank you, Nige. And we're going to see them again. Yes, we do. We see them about 4 o'clock this afternoon.
Okay, we're going to have to be really quick because we're on the dummy grid here with Tim Stanton, who's not in the quickest car on the grid. How's things?
Very well, thank you. Had a good first race this morning. Good competition against the BMW of Steve, I believe his name is.
And so tell us what you're driving and what you're against.
I'm driving a 1300cc, 100 horsepower, front-wheel drive, cheap French shopping basket. And I'm up against things with slicks and more cylinders and probably 3 to 4 times more horsepower.
So I have to fess up and I've raced this car with Tim in endurance racing. We went down to Highlands Motorsport Park back 2 years ago, yeah?
3, yep.
And we came second in our class in this little car, and we're up against GT3 cars, so that you're used to this.
This car punches above its weight for sure, and it makes more smiles than it does dollars.
At the end of the day, it is a beautiful little car to drive. You wouldn't believe it's front-wheel drive. It feels like a rear-wheel drive car, but it's used to being amongst real big metal and having a real fun time on its own.
Yeah, exactly. The car knows how to be lapped very, very well.
The challenge here will be whether the whether the supercars can get enough heat into the tyres and get the engine up to temperature, based on what will effectively be 2 corners of a track before they go and park up for a standing start. So we'll keep a close eye on them. Not sure where Marco Schulp thinks he's going to. Marco should be off flag fall 2. The idea here is that we should have the slowest guys off the start-finish. The quickest guys, we've got the supercars lining up on the back straight leading into Euromark. There's at least 2 lined up there. And we're underway. Sluggish start for Ron Long in the 911, but he gets it away in the end, and he will lead us out. He will lead the first group away into turn 1. So that's Ron Long ahead of Jared Hargreaves in the BMW. First of the chasing group is Kevin Jones in the M5, who goes across with Andrew Havel behind him. The next chasing group will be led by Mike Baker from Picton, Matthew Robinson in 161, Lewis Lowe flying up the outside around the BMW. Our next group scanning back is Philip Hoffman and Steve Howell in the Mustang and BMW respectively.
So for those trying to follow along, who's probably got the most work to do?
Well, the most work to do is clearly the back of the pack. So that is the 2 BMWs that have been so fast this weekend, Mark Scott and Marco Schell, and the Orcon ex-Mark Winterbottom supercar of Hayden Knighton,
Which just got past us now.
number 5, has just gone past us. So they are a full 1 minute 17 behind the scratch starters, with 6 laps to try to reel them in. Ron Long leads the race at the moment. He's just come through the second S, so he's got the best part of 3/4 of a lap lead over Knighton and the BMWs. But he's also got the advantage of having 17 cars separating them. So we'll keep an eye on the chasers, see if anyone's managed to trick the handicappers into getting an advantage. But at this stage, Ron Long is his job is to try to get as much of a lead as possible to defend from the chasing pack. Kevin Jones in the M5 alongside Andrew Havel. The next group through is Lewis Lowe, Mike Baker, Matthew Robinson, Chris Fleury, and then Craig Marston in the E30 BMW, just going across the screen now. Then you scan back to Philip Hoffman in the Shelby and Steve Howell in the BMW. And we'll check the gap to the chasing pack again as they come across. So the first of the supercars is Gary Cliff, who's fully 41 seconds behind the leader. And we just need to tidy up our lap score so everything stays on the one screen.
And Marco Schelp.
That's right, so Marco Schelp, fastest lap of the race at 1:30.5. Now it's going to be tricky for these guys at the back to put down fastest laps continuously because they are making their way through traffic, and the first traffic they're hitting is pretty quick cars. See, they're just diving under Jeff Lusky at the hairpin. Jeff's driving a car that's capable of 134s, 133s. You know, he's only a couple of seconds slower than the supercars and the BMWs, the Super Tourers. So we'll keep an eye on that chasing pack. Ron Long continues to lead ahead of Jared Hargreaves. That's the car for sale, as I recall. Tim Stanton in the Pug. I think the first threat to the lead will come from Kevin Jones in the M5, who's just caught the back of the lead pack. Andrew Havel and the Commodore is following him through, and then Lewis Lowe and that fearsomely quick Datsun.
So that's a 1:29 from Hayden Knighton.
The gap is now 39 seconds, 4 laps to go.
What was it at the start? About
He was over a minute. He was over a minute behind when we started, so I think it was about a minute 17. But again, Hayden Knighton he's in 17th now. He's still got 16 cars to overtake before he gets to the lead, and he's got to worry about Marco Schelp, who just fires the BMW WTC car down the outside, and Marco's going to try and make it stick around the outside of the hairpin, taking the kart-in line. Can't make it work. Mark Scott is going to look for every opportunity past Marco as well. And meanwhile, Hayden Knighton has another Falcon supercar in front of him to try to get past. That'll be Richard Atkinson, who's concerned with trying to get his way through the traffic. X-Mark Winterbottom car on X-Mark Winterbottom car as the newer Orcon car goes faster, takes the advantage on the short Fulton Hogan straight. So that's Knighton reeling in Atkinson. So there's Gary Cliff, Hayden Knighton, Mark Scott, Richard Atkinson and Marco Schelp. Those are a chasing group that we're keeping an eye on.
Meanwhile, Ron Long is still leading the front pack.
Ron Long still has a little advantage there over Gerard Hargreaves. Lewis Lowe is reeling them in quickly. We'll keep an eye on that Datsun Scarab of Lewis Lowe. His last lap time around was a 1:38, and he's a full 20 odd seconds ahead of the chasing V8 supercars and BMWs. Oh my goodness, Mark Scott has made a huge dive on the entry to the carousel on Hayden Knighton. Kicks up a big amount of dust as he can't make the move stick with two wheels off. Marco Schelp will try and take advantage of the opportunity.
And another bit of creative line there.
Schelp and Scott too wide in the first S, and Schelp's going to hold on around the outside.
And then who's that by Casino who's just gone off?
I think it might be Jim Wallace. There's Jim Wallace who's got a
door open.
lot of smoke coming out of that BMW. Jim exiting the car, and the marshals are there very quickly. They'll have the extinguishers out if there's any risk of fire.
And from the look of that, that's our front group that's really sort of just caught up now to the rest of the race.
Well, Lewis Lowe's grabbed the lead as we expected. We've got a lap and a half left to go.
And that midfield's just pushing
and
through.
They are pushing through, but look at
Euromark.
the distance that Lewis Lowe has out in front. Ron Long is still in second. It's 535 Kevin Jones, who's made his way through to third, ahead of Andrew Havel.
And then on your screen there, you can see the marshals dealing with Jim Wallace's car.
Yeah, fingers crossed it's nothing too serious for the BMW. Look at the three wide going into the first S.
Porsches side by side for a minute there.
Mike Baker ahead of Chris Fleury as they both go past Gerard Hargreaves. Marco Schelp has pushed his way through past Mark Scott, Richard Atkinson, Gary Cliff and Hayden Knighton. So he'll be our first of the chasing pack. I've no doubt he'll reel in cars immediately in front of him, but I don't think he's going to catch Lewis Lowe in a lap. Schelp 14 seconds behind Lewis Lowe. And Lewis is doing 136s out in front.
Dives down.
It's Mike Baker on the inside locking up a wheel into Abbott. He gets swallowed up by the WTC BMWs of Mark Scott and Marco Schelp. Yeah, incredibly fast, aren't they?
And again,
Schelp up the inside of Jones. Scott will look to do the same. next car in the crosshairs is Andrew Havel, who they will gobble up as well. Meanwhile, Lewis Lowe exits the carousel. It is definitely a race for second. Mark Scott up the inside of the BMW of Kevin Jones. Oh, we've got another car off at the carousel. That's one of the supercars. That's Rob Lewis in the ex-John Bower supercar.
And let's see if Mark Scott tries to give Marco Sharp a run for his money down on the last straight.
Meanwhile, on the checkered flag, on the last lap, and taking the checkered flag is Lewis Lowe, who takes the win. Marco Schulp will come across in second, ahead of Mark Scott. There'll be Kevin Jones in a good race to the flag. Gary Cliff just holding off Hayden Knighton, Matthew Robinson, Andrew Havel, Mark Baker, Richard Atkinson, Chris Fleury, Craig Marston.
So we're down here with Mike Crehan, who's got this absolutely beautiful Delage. He's just getting ready to go out, but we're going to bother him with a few questions about it while he's putting his helmet and everything on. So, Mike, tell us about this car. I mean, it's absolutely looks like brand new.
Yeah, well, this is its first outing, its first public debut. Bring it down here to Christchurch. It's had an 11-year rebuild. I've done some of the work myself. It's looked after at the moment by Cartel Works in Nelson. Panel work's all been done by Richard Conlon, who's fabulous aluminium panel beater in Nelson. So it's a 3-litre 6-cylinder. They were built for Le Mans to win the 3-litre class, which they did. They also came second overall in 1939. Then the war intervened, which meant they became obsolete, and most people haven't heard of them.
So you're driving here with, just run us through, because it looks a little bit different to what we're used to when it comes to driving a car.
Yeah, so we have the gear lever. What people think in the paddock is the gear lever is just a forward neutral reverse box. It actually has a epicyclic Cotel box, which is switched electrically with a little joystick near the column. So I only use the clutch to set off, and then once I'm moving, I don't use the clutch again until I stop. You just move the lever, and it's like a modern paddle shift. It just changes gear. You can do it absolutely flat, accelerator flat to the floor, just change gear.
And tell us about the seating arrangement.
At the moment, it's got its road seats in it, and for here it's a bit difficult because I'm sliding around all over the cockpit, so you'll probably see me hanging onto the door with my elbow. But we'll sort that out as we get the teething problem solved.
And so, I mean, you're obviously in amongst a beautiful range of historic racing cars. I mean, how does it fit in the field? I mean, you're having a lot of fun.
I'm having a lot of fun with the guys. Unfortunately, I'm not really in the middle of them all. They're all faster than me, but yeah, just got to watch out for them when they lap me, and then I get a chance to see what the proper lines are through the corners for a minute or two.
And like driving style for something like this, I guess you just have to let it come to you.
Yeah, we just got to drive a little bit within the car's limits so that we don't spin off across the centre field, because the underside of the car looks just like the top, and I don't really want to be panel beating it. But yeah, it's a bit tail out if you get a bit excited on the throttle. It steps the tail out, but it's pretty predictable. It's a nice thing.
Very good. And this particular car, obviously it's just had this rebuild. Where did it come from?
I found this car as a wrecked chassis in Bordeaux. So the original bits that are with the car are the axles, the steering box, cylinder block and the chassis, and everything else on it is bespoke and been made.
Wow, I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. A lovely piece of work. I better let you get your helmet on and get started up. Turn on that magneto and all those things. I wouldn't even know where to start with all those buttons. So anyway, have a good race and enjoy. Well, I'm getting a bit tired, so I'm going to hand over the interviewing to my good friend Victor Cattermole. I've told him he better put the right T-shirt on because he's wearing some flowery sort of thing. So he's gone and got himself a T-shirt. It's a little small, we think, but here we go. Victor Cattermole.
Still sexy though. Look, I've got Keith and Peter with me. Now, you guys have been around this event for a fair amount of time. It was originally the BP Alpha. Yep. Do you want to tell us a wee bit about the early days?
It was started by a group of guys who wanted historic and classic motor racing to be everybody. They started it, got bigger. We came onto the committee with the Chapmans, and it's just growing, and we've just kept it. It's classic and historic. The motorsport can look after the rest of New Zealand motor racing. We look after classic and historic.
Yeah, fantastic. And so from day one versus now, what was the vision, and how do you feel about how what's now the scope has evolved?
Well, we wanted to have a meeting whereby people could come and really enjoy themselves. It wasn't just about winning races, it was about the spirit of classic motorsport. And so, I mean, it's a very happy meeting. We've got lots of kids, we've got lots of mums and dads and things out here watching. We've got cousins and aunties and the whole thing. I mean, I don't know how many people arrived today for this man, but I think he's got a family of about 4,000.
No, some of them couldn't come.
Well, it's a real tribute to you guys and the efforts you've put in, and I know that, you know, in amongst the pits, the feeling and the people watching is a great environment, and that vision obviously continues. So we appreciate it, and all those 30 years, which I'm sure sometimes were thankless. But
most of them were.
Yeah.
But can I just say, we've had great support from our sponsors as well. I mean, we couldn't have done it without them.
Yeah, thanks. Over to the team in the commentary box.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed down there in the pit area. Victor asking the questions, and a couple of absolute legends answering the questions.
There are no two more appropriate gentlemen to be talking about the history of Scope than Keith Cowan and Peter Grant. So that's fantastic to get them both on camera and get their thoughts around the history and the stories of Scope.
We've got 5 lights, we're underway, and Mark Barrett gets the start of his lifetime. Jumps into the lead, but of course the power of the Stanton Corvette 5 litres versus 1.6 is fairly obvious. The A3 also whistles up and falls in behind Mark, and then comes back to Russ Haynes in the Holden, and then I think it's Bill Coey in the Indianapolis styled car.
The Spangarelli, yes.
Yeah, you can get your tongue around it.
Yes, I think the Spangarelli, that's right.
And then there's John McDonough, and then that car which should never be anywhere up there, which is car number 6 with Murray Frew, the Chrysler 62-6. I mean, you notice that he drives on it rather than in it. It's absolutely astounding. So anyway, first lap of they've dropped it. They're supposed to be doing 6, but I understand that they may be dropped back to 5 because of the age of the cars.
Because there are cucumber sandwiches and cups of tea to be had.
Yeah, I think it was something to do with the number of
well,
the age numbers. But anyway, that's all good.
They've done a lot of racing this weekend, right?
Here's the Delage in the back view of the for those who are watching from home on the live stream.
Yes.
And boy, is that car, you just had an interview about that. What an amazing motor car that is. I mean, it's, how do you you can't put a price on something like that.
No, absolutely priceless. And one of only 2 in the world. 2, literally 2 built. Both raced just before the war, and then the Delage company went obviously disappeared. After the war, it was turned into a rally car with a sedan body, and then it disappeared, and it's come back, and it's amazingly beautifully restored. There's Russell making absolute no race of it, and I tell you what, Mark Barrett, he's opened up a huge lap on the 2 front engine cars. Hasn't he? Yeah, Graham Hamilton and Russ Haynes have their work cut out for them to try to reel back the Lotus.
Yeah, so he gets the yellow jersey for the Barrett Racing team, I can tell you. There's number 7 going through. That's Peter Radisich. He's campaigned that car. Well, he was campaigned it for 50, 60 years. I mean, yeah. Down through the hairpin comes our leader.
This is a
followed by the Lotus.
Good tussle for third between Graham Hamilton and Russ Haynes. The car, there's a little bit of a. I mean, they're both representative of a similar period, aren't they? But
yeah.
But the Ace 3 is a genuine 1950s sports car, whereas the Frangipelli is built to represent that sort of 1965-ish New Zealand period special.
Well, the Stanton's definitely got a got the bit between his teeth and disappeared off. Not losing touch with him though was Barrett.
Yes, no, Mark will continue, and Mark's tyres will last longer than what Russell's will.
The real battle is going to be between Russ Haynes and Graham Hamilton, I would have thought.
Yes.
I see that the 250 Dart has got in front of Bill Coey. Suddenly got some horsepower, as Brian Ashworth.
Yeah, you were mentioning that earlier. The fact
that
he's found something somewhere.
It's got to be more than just an exhaust system, I reckon. But anyway,
he's getting a far
Russell
better
Haynes would be grumpy about being that far off the Lotus.
Yep. Yeah, having now dispatched with Graham Hamilton in the Ace 3. A good tussle there.
Yeah, look at this tussle that's on screen at the moment, which is basically the IndyCar and the 250.
Spangarelli takes
of course,
the
yellow.
Again in a straight line.
Sorry, I can't.
Spangarelli's faster in a straight line. And the Mistral will have him in the. The Daimler Dart will have him in the around the corners. As Brian Ashworth can close up. On your screen now is the Stanton Corvette. Can you imagine racing this thing on beaches, on speedway?
Oh,
it's.
As I said to you earlier, it makes me go weak at the knees in fear as I walk past it. So, Russell Greer obviously knows the car very, very well, and there's a lot of guys when it was brand new had to go at testing for it, and apparently it's an absolute handful.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yes. So the first three or four, the first four really sorted themselves out and got into a rhythm.
Yeah, they're nice and spread out, and then once again Brian Ashworth has the advantage in the twisty parts over Bill Cowie and the Spangarelli. John McDonough doing a good job in the Mistral.
Yeah, the Stanton is doing a best time a couple of seconds quicker than Mark. Russ Haynes is just a wee bit quicker than him. And actually, Graham Hamilton's best time is a 1:49.9. So he's obviously just not feeling all that comfortable with the car at the moment. That's a duel, isn't it, between the 250, the V8, plus the Holden motor?
Yes.
Mistrals were around as a kit car for a long time, way back, and basically you sort of bought the shell, found a chassis, put whatever motor you wanted to into it, and away you went, which was great. The Australians had a thing called a Bolwell,
right?
Which was basically the same thing the same principle as the Mistral. So,
right. So what's Brian Ashworth running in his?
It's the normal Daimler V8.
It's the Daimler V8,
yep,
right.
which you get in your Mark II shaped cars.
Yes, that's right.
And they were known to be very fast in a straight line and pigs at the corner. So, but I think Brian's actually driving it very well.
I think he is too.
He's also very quick on a motorbike.
Right.
Is Brian, and he's. In fact, he's exceedingly quick. Obviously, Bill got the better of him because as they're coming through the carousel.
Yeah, Brian's having to look every which way to try to get around him.
Yeah, but he did pass him, and now he's been absorbed again. So
yes. The Spangarelli seems to be faster in a straight line, but look at how cautious he has to be. It's Bill Cowie and Brian Ashworth talking about. Not seeing the last lap board just yet, so they are going to go the full distance.
Oh, are they? Okay.
Yes, they're going to 4 down. Russ Haynes just puts in the fastest lap of the race with a 44.5.
Perhaps the message didn't get upstairs yet. No, it was just that Chris Potherow said that. He said your mates are getting worried about getting puffed.
They've still got one more race this afternoon. They've got one more. They can't use up all of their energy. They're definitely going to have a few cups of tea between now and then.
That's it. That's the one. Actually, Russell Haynes has moved right up on second place getter. That gap was huge.
Yeah, that's right.
That gap was huge.
So Mark Barrett in the Lotus, the 23B, is under a whole
Mind you,
lot of pressure.
that car still has problems with first gear. and he may have had a touch of a problem with the gearbox. That car's always been haunted by its gearbox.
How many times are you grabbing first in the Lotus around here? Just at the hairpin?
Just a hairpin, yeah.
Right. So no excuses for the rest of the track. Just checking.
Just checking.
Just checking.
Well, I tell you what though, Russell Haynes, what a burst of speed for him.
Yeah, and the two of them aren't that
And
far
he's,
behind Russ Greer either.
I can tell you that he's a very hard charger.
Yeah, well, Russell Greer lost 3 seconds in the second sector to this chasing pack. So whether Russ had an issue or
Mark will be looking for that last lap board, I could tell you.
Yeah, I'd expect Russell Greer to be coming across to the far side of the track if he was at full noise. Still sounds crisp, but Haynes has reeled them both in. So there on your screen is Russ Greer, then Mark Barrett.
And that's
then
Russell
Russ
Haynes in the Holden.
Graham Hamilton in the Ace 3 has dropped a long way back. And then it's our battle between Bill Cowie and Brian Ashworth.
Yeah, they're having a brilliant run. So, yeah, okay, there's your answer.
And there's the Spangarelli goes
basically,
past him
Bill's got the straight line speed, and Brian's got the ability to be able to be. It puts his nose into places and creates a gap, and that's not a criticism. It's the way he drives,
That's
and
right.
everybody knows this is what he does.
So we watch our leading trio as they enter the casino carousel. And look at how much closer that Mark Barrett is. He's going to have an issue with straight line speed if he can't get past the Stanton Corvette before the final corner.
Well, Russell Haynes is going to have to do something pretty desperate to get past Mark. But you're right. I mean, those two have closed right up on the Stanton. And
It's just the Stanton. It's just the loud pedal on the Stanton's a lot louder than
yeah,
everyone
well, I think
else,
he
isn't it?
probably glanced at his mirror and thought, shit, there's that white thing behind me.
And
I love the
grandstand
Greer
finish,
family.
A grandstand finish for the Vintage Car Club. And it will be Russ Greer and the Stanton Corvette, who takes the win over Mark Barrett.
I think they can be very proud of themselves. They really can. So that's the order there. In the middle of all that lot, of course, you've got the Vanguard 6 of Don Amon, and the Morgan has been out there. That's Giles Gill. And the Delage, or Delage, I should say, Delage, having a display, doing a track test, which is rather lovely.
That's right. It's a lovely
And I'm not taking
Sunday
the mickey. I
afternoon.
think it's fabulous that he's brought a car like that out onto the track.
It is amazing. Absolutely amazing piece of technology.
Yeah, and of course you can't have a vintage class of this caliber without having at least one MG in there.
Oh, that's right. Take your pick.
But the Mistrals reign supreme as far as the kit set cars are concerned.
Yes, John McDonough brings the Mistral home in 7th.
That's still that card over 6. You can have a look at that thing.
And the Chrysler, yes.
How can he be so quick?
Yep.
And something that he found in a shed, cleaned up, and has come out racing. And as I said, he's the pilot that sits on it, not in it. Anyway, that's all very good news. Next up is the Ron Silvester Saloons. Then that's followed by the Libres, then the Harold Heasley. And then at 3:30ish, we've got the SAS Autoparts MSC Formula 5000 race of 12 laps, which is the Burt Hawthorn Cup.
On the grid there for the, we've got a handicap, is it? Ron Silvester Saloons handicap. How's the handicap working, Rob? Do you know?
Well, we just got a hole installed on the front line there. It's Edgar Warning.
Oh, there we go. First 4 cars away. And then, according to our screen...
Actually, it's interesting they're using the lights as their main bits. Burt Govern is in car number 81, incidentally. So it's lovely to see Bertie out there doing something. Burt Govern, of course,
the
normally...
bushel car a wee bit slow getting away. He's got swamped.
Burt Govern normally would be driving his 3.8 red Jaguar, but he's driving a borrowed car for today.
Looked like the elbows were out on the Mustang there. And now the last group, we've got that Cortina, the V8 Cortina, Guy Stewart, 861 Porsche.
Always be watching Steve Ross in the Blue Boss Mustang.
Yes, of course. PDL1. Look at the front runners coming down. They've come out of Carousel. They're into the Southern Salvage S's.
It's pretty embarrassing when you're on pole position number 1 and he practically stalled it. But he got away, so that's good.
It's a 73 Monaro, is that right?
So they'll settle themselves down. I think as you say, the back markers will be coming through fairly quickly. How many laps are we doing? We're doing 7.
7. 6 to go. 5 to go. We're doing 6 laps. We're doing 5 or 6 laps, or 7.
6.
They're racing until the checkered flag. That's what they're doing.
Some very campaigned cars and drivers there. Their time penalty for car number 4, which is Edgar Warnick. I'm not quite sure what that's for, but he's got a time penalty, probably jumping the start.
Oh, yes. Did he? Well,
he didn't really. In fact, he got off slowly.
Well, I thought that he had first start over everyone else, but I think he didn't jump the start. So, hence the time penalty. Hasn't particularly helped him much, so because he kind of jumped and spluttered and carried on. He didn't have much momentum, so sort of a double slapping, unfortunately. So front runners come through out of Casino again into the Southern Salvage S's. Old Monaro, 3.3 litre. So it'll be the 202 motor, is it?
And then there's Mercedes sitting quietly behind him.
Yeah, just here we have the cruise control on. He'll be just going around.
Andy Milne in the 5 litre SLC.
Yeah, I was trying to help Andy out during the last couple of weeks. He was after some other tyres to try on that, and I thought I had some, but they weren't probably as good as what he's got. And there he goes, taking the lead for that lap. Now we've got
so the sort of people we should be watching really is Steve Ross in the PDL Boss Mustang, Mark Scott in the TVR Tuscan. Keep an eye also on the red car, the Cortina V8 in the hands of Adam Collins. Yes, Miles Cochran is also in the Dustbin 26 ounce. And Mike Baker in the 911, that's car number 2. So those are the cars that you can expect to be coming up through and looking very good. The Mike Baker car coming through the hairpin at the moment.
And then Guy Stewart in the Porsche. Steve Ross in the PDL Mustang. V8 Cortina. TBR, then the V8 Cortina. As they head on through the infield there. Steve Ross coming into Fulton Hogan.
So 3 laps to go. So the handicapper who did the handicapping, we'll see how good he or she is, won't we?
It's looking okay, I think.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of work to do for the guys that towards the back. Anyway, there's your mate going through in the Mercedes-Benz. Debbie Chapman in second spot, fastest anyway, and then the Holt Monaro.
Yeah.
But let's keep an eye on the fast chappies.
Yeah, well, Guy Stewart in 16th currently. He's obviously a couple of seconds quicker than anyone else out there.
So what do we got?
He's got all the work to do.
2.5 laps to go, and at the moment your Mercedes is looking pretty good. Debbie Chapman's giving him a hurry up. The Monaro in third spot, don't forget, has got a time penalty.
So watching Guy Stewart comes up through to Euromark hairpin, followed by that little RX3, is it? RX2?
3.
RX3.
She would be pretty hard to find an RX2 nowadays, I would have thought.
Well, not with the amount of money that we've got, anyway.
So it's still holding out. He's still not getting too much noise around him as our Andy Milne.
Go the Mercedes.
There's a TR8 coming through with Kirk Ransley driving it. And that's going to make a lot of noise very shortly. He's up into third space. She must go down and see the man. I haven't seen him for a while. So as they cross the line, it's Milne, Chapman, Ransley, Warnig, McCullough, Dennis Chapman, Burt Govan. As Bacon is going through. Guy Stewart up into 10th.
You reckon we're getting commentary in the commentary box that Guy Stewart's got this wrapped up?
Oh, okay. Show us your money.
Yeah.
We'll probably do cups of coffee instead of money.
Yeah. He's brought me a cup of coffee, but they made it with very hot water. It's looking quite congested as they go into Fulton Hogan. You can see at the top of your screen.
This is where the handicapping really starts to show up, isn't it? With
it does.
The last lap board coming out for the next time they cross the start-finish.
Because catching up is one thing, but passing is another.
Yeah, but, you know.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but
I know.
Yeah, Kurt Ransley is...
Go the Mercedes, come on.
He's got that work. I mean, that work is a pretty big, wide car to get past, I know. But
yeah.
Kirk's actually got it that far up, which is really great. So round through Avon City Ford, down onto the front straight. Last lap board will meet them. Come on, Kirk, you can do it. You can do it, mate. And then goes Debbie, totally swamped by Hoffman.
And Guy Stewart.
Actually, might just have to take the hat off to the handicapper, I think.
Yeah, no, he's done a pretty good job.
Here
comes
Guy
the
Stewart.
power of the Porsche.
Oh.
Right up round the outside. Superior brakes. The TR8 sees the opportunity to try and follow Guy around, but Andy's not having a bar of that. He says you're going to have to work a bit harder than that. Goes into Fulton Hogan. He has the inside line, so Andy and the Mercedes, no opportunity to defend from out there. Guy Stewart comes round
Actually,
out
I'm not sure if it's Guy or whether it's the owner of the car in this particular one. This isn't Guy, but I think Guy was going to do the first couple of races and then hand the car back to the man who owns it.
Well, whoever, they've driven well. We've got a little Escort coming up the inside of the Mercedes. Oh, he was a wee bit locked up there, was he? to brake a little bit harder than the
There's the
anticipated.
checkered flag for them. The
Checkered flag is out.
H61.
Phil Hoffman just sneaks in for
next.
third.
And Paul Andrews in the Escorts fourth.
Yeah, he drove the
Mercedes was
legs off
fifth,
it.
Steve Ross was sixth. Adam Cottams, Dennis Chapman, Debbie Chapman, Bertie Govan, Mark Scott, Mike Baker.
It's where there's a whole other lot of stuff going on that unfortunately, because it's like about 1.5 kilometres away from where our wirelesses are, we haven't been able to get down here. So I wanted to show just this amazing field, and there's just so much more going on down this end of the paddock, which is quite relaxing because they're all amongst the trees and everything. So Angus, tell us, you got a nice little BMW driving today. How's that going?
It's really awesome to drive. Magical car, obviously, very historic car and valuable car. So you have to take that into mind when you're driving it. Not mine. So somebody said to me this morning, they never drive a car that they can't afford to fix. Well, there's a sister car, a Group A car, but it's the ex-Jimmy Richards Group C JPS livery car, 24 valve, twin cam, 6-cylinder engine, about 400 horsepower, revs to about 9,000 RPM, believe it or not, and it sounds like it, but it's just such a fantastic car to drive.
And so we just got a noisy old V8 going out, which you can probably hear in the background there. We'll just see him sort of make his way through. Jeez, that's loud, isn't it? Yeah, what? Yeah, whoa, there we go. I think he's just giving it a bit of extra rev just for our enjoyment. But seconds away.
Bloody Ford V8s, I don't know.
So the thing with it's a JPS special, and you're a black and gold man with your car, so was that just like lucky?
It's just a fluke, yeah, just how it happened to be. I've known Peter for quite a few years, and I actually drove that car when it was in Group A trim at Teretonga, I don't know, 10 years ago, just for a few laps, and have wanted to have a crack at the Group C thing, and one thing led to another last week, and here I am. So, you've got to take it when you can. We're not here forever.
You've been driving a lot of cars recently.
I have, yeah. This is my 4th day in a row driving race cars, so I'm looking forward to a nice massage and a cup of tea and a bit of a lie down when I get home.
So give us the list.
A list of what?
What you've driven in the last 4 days?
Well, the Collins Motorsport Mark Mustang at Hampton Downs and testing for the 1 hour endurance, and they went really well and finished second, so they're all happy with that. And then this thing the last 3 days. So, and also had a drive of Gary's V12 Jag to see what it was like, and there are some improvements to be made, shall we say. So it may be travelling north for a wee birthday.
So you do a lot of tuning for people. They just see you have a go and come up with some ideas.
Well, that's kind of the best way to do it. They can drive around in their car until Auntie falls off the tram. But if they can't feel what it is, or I'm lucky enough, I suppose, to be able to pick up on most things and be able to translate that into a fix. So a bit of old Cambridge magic comes out, and normally we come out looking half right.
So your garage is for people that don't know?
No. So lots of them do know, and a lot of them know, a lot more things than me, but maybe different things.
No, I was trying to give you a plug. You were supposed to say where your garage was and how they could get in touch with you, because the people on the live stream might want to give you a ring.
There you go, Foggy's best damn garage in town. Riverhead in Auckland, sunny northwest, and 0214 Foggy. Pretty easy to remember.
There you go, that's as good a plug as you're going to get today. Anyway, have a good last race. Enjoy yourself.
Cool.
Great. And it was great racing with you earlier in the year too.
Yeah, it was. And I look forward to joining you again with the Mini and the Capris and stuff. And is it Taupo in May?
Just for those who don't know, I've been driving someone else's Capri in the HVRA in the North Island, which Angus has a Mini that's his dad's Mini, Gerald Fogg, and he drives that beautifully. It's one of the quicker cars in that group, which is a pre-78 group of very similar vehicles.
Exactly, and it's quite different to these ones. These are all, ex-famous race vehicles. Our ones are, so a few of them are genuine cars, but a lot of them are sort of more on a club level, I guess, and just guys that want to have a burn around in a classic car, and it's a really neat group, the HVRA.
Yeah, we love it. All right, on that note, we'd better get back to the other end of the field.
Cool,
thanks, mate. Sweet. See ya.
Lined up. 2 red lights, 3 red lights, 4, 5, racing. And another slow start from Blake Knowles. He's made it hard for himself this weekend when it comes to getting off the line. Put it on pole and then given himself a whole lot of work to do. So he's probably still enjoying it, to be fair. But it looks like he's down to about, where did he end up? Fourth, maybe 4 or 5. Yeah, I think he did go as low as 5, but he's up to about fourth now by the look of it. Watching him come through Link. yeah. So he's not in the worst position, but off pole he'll be a bit disappointed with himself. So leaders come around. Euromark hairpin. Gaggle of cars following around. All nice and clean. Early in the race they're all bunched up a bit, of course, so all nice and clean through turn 1 and then through the hairpin. Right, now we can settle down into some racing. So, Ian, can you hold that position again? The race is on. And yeah, Matthew Hamilton's hanging off the group. Just to make them feel, a little bit inferior.
True sign of skill that he can do that in a 30-year-old
Oh,
car.
yeah,
Really,
yeah. He's certainly talented, that's for sure. First time across the line. John Williams, 135. Ian Clements, and then Blake Knowles, Matt Hamilton. Front 4. The leaders come through. Link just broken up a little bit of a gap now to Matt. Those front 3 just pull away a bit. Coming through to Fulton Hogan. Little tight right-hander. If you don't get that right, you really don't have the right setup for the rest of that whole infield. You can really make or lose a lot of time from the Fulton Hogan right-hander. You've got to take it fractionally slower than what you think in order to get the best track position to carry all the best speed right through Casino and then through the Southern Salvage S's. These guys have done a few laps around here though, they know.
Oh, and who's that?
Oops, we've got a car slow on the back straight. Is that Chris Munn? Yeah, it looks like it's Chris Munn, I think, in the Chatterham. He's coming into the pit. He's got a problem with that car. Right.
Now, Blake Knowles with the fastest lap of 1:29.
Yep. Still sitting in third, though. These 3 at the front having a right old tussle. Others coming across the line. 343, Royce Bayer, Peter Grant, Hayden Cox. Variety of cars.
Coming right into Euromark now. The top 3 are still giving a fair bit of distance from Matt Hamilton. So
Yeah.
We've got wings, you don't.
Yeah,
you can't hang out with us, but he's still clinging on. He wants to hang out with them. He wants to be there.
Yep. So, Matt, of course, also only in 1600 cc. Front cars are 2 litre. And like you say, got the wings. Right, change of the lead by the look of it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that Blake that's gone up into P1? Yeah, Blake up into P1 with the fastest lap, 1:29. Right, now the boys have got their work to do because he's been quick. He's just had a couple of rough starts, so now he's laid the gauntlet down and he's pulled out a few car lengths, as you can see there as he comes up through Link. And the 2 behind is sort of saying, well, that's taking the fun out of it.
Yeah.
As they come around Euromark. The issue you have here is what happens is when you've got Blake's come through and he's stretched out a good lead, the second place car is needing to chase, but as you can see, having to defend. And the gap opens up so quickly because you don't want to go from first to third. And so the defensive position jumps in quicker than the attacking position, and that's what we're seeing here as these two come through the Southern Salvage into the S's, and Blake's been allowed to run away.
So really, I guess the question falls on John Williams of whether he wants them to have almost a mutually assured destruction of fighting for second.
Well, what happens is the commentators all think it's a great idea that they work together. And for years and years and years, the commentary has been, if these two are smart, they'll work together and they'll catch them up. But the issue is they don't hear that out there. They're not listening to the experts. They're out in the race cars, and they're just doing their thing, and that's the end result. So
he is starting to put some proper distance on them now.
yeah, well, he's just done another fastest lap, which was over 2 seconds a lap faster than these two. So you can see the price that they've paid for having the battle.
Yeah, they've just let Blake Knowles do it.
Yeah, and he's just run away. And in these cars, because they're relatively close, 2.5 seconds, excuse me, nearly 3 seconds to catch up is a lot, and with only 2 laps to go. So, and Blake is clearly just stretching that lead out more and more. He's not just sitting back. He's done the fastest time in Sector 1. Sector 2, he's had a bit of traffic, so he's probably held him up fractionally. But crossed the line with a 27 flat. Oh no, 27.4. So yeah, nearly 500ths down on his best lap. So bit of traffic held up, but still got the pedal down hard into the Axminster. Oh, we've got a car spun around up at the Euromark hairpin. Run out of talent. Just as the second and third place cars coming through. He stays out of the way, so that's okay. He's away safely. Just watch that car come into the pits. He'll be jumping out and having a look at the tyres to see what they did wrong. Searching for an excuse. Here we got the last lap board out
for Blake Knowles.
Blake Knowles coming through from Casino into the Southern Salvage S's. Bit of lap traffic to deal with, but no problem. Away he goes. It's really going to hold up second and third. They're going to catch up on that when they get down to Avon City Ford Sweeper. And Blake's well onto the main straight, as you can see there, and checkered flags out. Good win, Blake. Redeemed himself. And these two come through 6.6 seconds the difference, so you can see
all that traffic slowed them up.
The traffic slowed them up, and they're battling with themselves. It was a fight for second and third. So good race for Formula Libre. That's the last race of the day, and up next we've got the Heasley Saloons. So finishing order there was Blake Knowles, John Williams, Ian Clements, Matt Hamilton, Royce Bayer, Peter Grant, Hayden Cox, Toby Dorbar, Andrew Downs, Keith Cowan, Brian Dixon. Oh, they're still finishing.
So I'm down here with Phil Hoffman, who's been racing in this beautiful GT350 Shelby Mustang. He tells me he's been coming to Scope for 22 years. And have you raced this car for all 22 of those?
21. It was broken one year, so we bought another one down and just had it on demo laps, but it was a genuine one, not a replica like this. But yeah, 21 years with this car, for sure.
So what keeps you coming back to Scope?
Oh, mate, the camaraderie in the pit here, the whole organising people, the whole Canterbury Car Club is just different to the North Island, and hey, it's just a fantastic place to visit. I keep coming back as long as I can. Just love it down here. Just an amazing atmosphere. Underestimated by North Islanders, sadly.
So tell us a little bit about this car.
I bought it in 1999, raced it ever since. Went through all sorts of metamorphoses, tried to be the fastest car in central muscle cars, but the car just got outgrown by much bigger, wide-bodied, later model Mustangs and Camaros. So 15 years ago, we bought some Gurney Westlake heads off Dan Gurney at All American Racing and tried to make it look pretty much like the car that Paul Fahey raced. And the PDL cars used the Gurney Westlake heads as well. And hey, just campaign it like that, love it.
So I think they into the PA cut and they missed, you put Gurney Westlake heads on it that are genuine. So let's open the bonnet and have a quick look under here. It's a beautiful piece of machinery. So just tell us about, just come over this side so the camera can see into the engine bay there. So what sort of engine is this?
Well, it's a 302 Ford V8 block, but Dan Gurney was open wheel racing back in the early 60s, and he got a man by the name of Harry Westlake in England to develop these aluminium heads, because there was no other race heads for Ford V8 engines in those days. He had 200 sets cast, all in 1964, and I ended up with a set on this car and a set spare. And hey, it doesn't go as quick as it used to with the Yates heads, but hey, it looks cool because it's got Weber carbs on it, and I love it. It sounds good.
So tell us, we'll just come back over towards the camera here. So tell us a little bit about how the weekend's been going for you.
Well, someone hit me, disappointingly. Oh no, I've had a great weekend. I mean, the car's not quite as old as me, and it sort of fares a little bit better than me. I'm fair to say I'm shocked because I've been in 2 classes, but hey, I've had an absolute ball. I mean, the camaraderie down here, as I said, just amazing. Just a fantastic place to visit.
And so, for the people that don't know, or they would have seen you on track, tell us some of the cars that you're racing against.
Well, PDL1, the Steve Ross car, a whole mixture of stuff out there, but mainly cars of this era, lots of smaller engine cars, yeah, just a group of sort of this era cars. Yeah, it's a great group to race with.
All right, well, it looks like the grid's about to go out in the background there, so thanks for having a yarn to us. Now, you have finished for the day, have you got one more?
Yeah, I have got one more, but I'm too old for it, I pass. I'm going to put it away while it's still in one piece. But I have had a magnificent weekend. We've been in 2 classes, so we've done a lot of racing this weekend.
Awesome, man. So it's back on the trailer and back up to the North Island tonight?
Back on Wednesday. Bit of a problem with the ferries in New Zealand at the moment, but yeah, at least I got here.
Yeah, you were telling me it was pretty hard to... We've actually had a few competitors that wanted to come down but struggled to get onto the ferry. So what's the deal there?
Well, I guess I have to give Scott Myers a bit of a plug at Palmerston North Transport, because if he had to have organised this and let me use some of their commercial space on the Blue Bridge, we wouldn't have got here. Only found out on Tuesday we could come. So hey, I had a great weekend thanks to this car club and to him.
Awesome. Well, we'll cut back over to the guys in the commentary box and we'll have a look at the Heasley Saloons for their last race of the weekend.
Got a 30-second board being shown. We've got 17 is Vaughan Fenton in the 26 out starting from pit lane. 5 red lights, green, and the first group is away. And away successfully. And then we hold. The lead pack of escorts and 1 Datsun going into turn 1. That's a brave move around the outside. Jamie Green holds the Datsun. Randall Diggs and Dave Berry in our second group are underway.
And is he going slow or yeah?
I think it's just the speed of the Datsun. Oh, we've got an issue over the back there. So that'll be Kelvin in the Mark 1. Our big pack that was starting off a 35-second handicap. All these handicaps are all out, but that's all right. Another car off there, another car off there.
That's Wayne Perkins in the Fever.
I think it is Perkins. And Bob Denson in the Anglia is is going to retire the Anglia straight away. Vaughan Fenton gets underway in the 26 ounce. And no, Bob Denson probably needs to try to move that car a little bit further than that. Safety car is on standby, but as long as they can get a flat toe to that car, someone needs to jump in that ute and go to that car.
And there they go now.
And there we go. The Waistco ute on its way to Bob Denson to rescue him. Looks like our stricken car on the back straight, on the Waistco straight, is also off the is also out of harm's way. So we can turn our attention back to the lead, which is Jamie Green in the Little Datsun 1200, ahead of Merv Hoare and Grant Milligan.
He'll be pleased for his 5 minutes in the front, I reckon. Old man there.
Well, he started in the front group. You'd think he'd like to be at the front of the front group, as opposed to the back of it, but that's okay. I'm sure Grant's thinking it's a long race, plenty of time to work my way into it. David Berry and Randall Diggs, the gap from the first group to the second group is a full 23 seconds.
And that looks like a pretty successful flat toe.
So the Waistco ute does what he needs to do.
Just
We've
after
got
the
another
hairpin.
retiree. That's Merv Hoare.
Is he retired or is he back out?
It's not going particularly fast. No, he's well on the grass, so I think that will be the end of the RS2000 as well.
And then the fastest lap from Brent Finlay, a 1:45.
Yeah, that's to be expected from that car. He is absolutely flying this weekend. He's left the Anglia of Murray Bone and the Escort of Kerry Smallridge in his dust. So I think Merv Hoare will be okay where he's parked. Unless someone has a huge issue on that little switchback before Fulton Hogan. Again, they're going to send one of the Waistco utes across to go and pick them up and put them behind some tyres. Keep everyone with a job. Jamie Green ticks off lap number 2, 4 to go. Grant Milligan now in second. More by default than more by default than ability, but I'm sure he'll take it.
Quietly competitive, I like to say.
Quietly
competitive. I'll be like, oh, that was good. Oh, yeah.
Dave Berry and Randall Diggs continue to dice for 3rd and 4th. Here comes Jeremy Stace in the E-Type.
What a great sound that makes.
Incredible sound. That was one of the fun parts during the luncheon interval. Archie and I were out in the safety car, running around the track, which was great fun. And one of the best moments was when we had an E-Type Jag and a C-Type Jag filling our rear mirrors, and we weren't going fast, but it still looked mighty impressive.
Honestly, it was slightly menacing.
Really was.
Yeah, all that could have been more fitted was just a Mark 10 in between them saying we're coming for you to steal your paintings. But no, it was great.
So Finlay reels off another fastest lap, a 42 flat, as he continues to make ground. So he's 46 seconds behind the leader with 4 laps to go. So he's got to reel in 12 seconds. No, he's got to reel in, the best part of 12 seconds a lap. I'm not sure he's going to do it. Especially not when he's got 11 cars between him and the leader. And look at this battle group as they go around the casino carousel. Jeremy Stace exits the first S. Then it's the A40 of Chris Cameron. Then it's Ian Stevens in the Mark III Escort. But Brett Finlay's already dispatched half of that group. Stace goes through in the E-type, then Cameron, then Stevens, but Stevens being gobbled up by Brett Findlay. Mark McGuinness in the Alpha, Craig Pigeon in the Avenger, following through. As we watch this battle down the back straight, or down the Waste Coast straight and into Link. Does Findlay leading that charge? So Findlay up to 7th last time around. Our race leader has just exited the second S. That's Jamie Green still in the Datsun 1200. Grant Milligan still holding position in second. And there's not much more than 2 laps to go. There's no one within cooey of these guys. Randall Diggs in the 1200, Dave Berry in the Mark 1, then Jeremy Stace, then Brett Findlay. Oh, there's still Chris Cameron in between them as well.
He's up off quite well, actually.
He has. Yeah, that A40's quite quick. Craig Pigeon in the Avenger makes a nice move on the little mini of Peter Scobie. Jeremy Stace and Brett Findlay are our 2 prime chasers, but they are 26 and 30 seconds behind the leader with only 2 laps to run. Brett Findlay, best case scenario, is doing 10 seconds a lap faster than Jamie Green, so I think he's going to be about 10 seconds short. That is if Jamie Green can keep it on the island and not make a mistake. Grant Milligan will be lining up a podium here.
Shock and horror.
You won't hear the end of it. That's
oh no, it was a good job, mate. You'll think I owe him a beer or something afterwards.
Jamie Green through the first S. Grant Milligan follows. Look at Grant pushing that Escort. Clips the inside. 1 lap and 1 corner to go for Jamie Green. Jeremy Stace, Randall Diggs and Brett Findlay chasing. .51.3 for Grant Milligan.
I think that might be a personal best.
I think it might be too.
That wee car's found a bit of a new life.
Amazing what happens when he's got an E-type bearing down on him.
Yeah, let's see how that goes.
As we suspected, there is about 20 seconds between Milligan, Green and then Stace Findlay in the chasing pack. So as long as Jamie Green and Grant Milligan don't do anything silly, they should have first and second tied up here.
And now, Jeremy Stace's rear view is just full of Brett Findlay as they come around Euromark now.
That Datsun 1200 has been the marker for the field this entire weekend.
Every time I see that car come past, I think, oh, maybe a pie, or a bakery, or a sausage roll, or some other baked good.
Just scanning back to find our chasing angler, and Maury Bone, he's up to about 9th. Oh, and that's one of the... Who's that looked it over there? Is that the little alpha of Mark McGuinness, who's turned it around at Fulton Hogan? round the court, round the sweeper for the final time, and there's the checkered flag for Jamie Green. The Little Datsun 1200. Jamie Green holds on. Grant Milligan holds on for second place. Congratulations, Grant. My commiserations to you, Archie.
I'll be hearing about that for a wee while now.
Jeremy Stace holds off the fast finishing Brett Finlay for third and fourth. Randall Diggs will also hold off. Chris Cameron's been given the gold there ahead of Randall Diggs. Lauren Bone, David Berry, Ian Stevens, Craig Pigeon and Peter Scobie. Another photo finish between Simon Taylor and Kerry Smallridge. It was the Alpha of Mark McGuinness that spun on at the exit to Fulton Hogan.
That'll be disappointing for him.
And that is the close for the Harold Heasley Saloons for the weekend. We turn our attention very soon to our feature race, the SAS Autoparts MSC Formula 5000, and we'll go down to Adam for the preview.
So I'm here with David Abbott, who's a series coordinator for the Formula 5000s, which are about to go out for their feature race of the weekend, which is a 12-lapper. So how's the weekend going for the team?
Always brilliant, and even better seeing yours here, Adam. Thanks for your coverage. The streaming's fabulous, but I want to thank the Canterbury Car Club as well. It's always a great privilege to come to this meeting, and huge crowd. We've got 12 cars, one not going out now, but we're quite happy with that with the COVID time. So thank you for having us, everybody. Brilliant.
And so, I mean, they're a beautiful set of cars. I mean, your season has been interrupted, but it's sort of the tail end of it's been very good. You were at Hampton Downs 2 weekends ago, was it?
Yeah, we had to rejig. We'd usually start at Manfield last year. Then we'd come here to Taupo for the Historic Grand Prix. They all got cancelled. And then the SKOPE obviously rescheduled for this weekend. But it's a damn good weekend. Fabulous, actually. So we don't mind. Although the sun gets a bit low when you're driving into the sun down here at about 280, 90k and the sun's in your visor. It's a bit tough for the boys.
Yeah, well, it's a beautiful sight as the sun goes down, seeing those 5000s going around though, isn't it?
Oh, it is lovely. You know, and they're all real cars. They're prepared like they were actually made yesterday. Very proud of the guys. Oil pressure issues taken Cody Banks out in the 1979 Grand Prix winning Lola 332. Johnny Walker won the Australian Grand Prix in that car. So that's not out there, but he's going out in his father's Talon, the car number 911. That's the dark coloured Talon. So Cody will be back out there, but because he hasn't driven it so far this weekend, he'll be starting off the back of the grid.
And so the Steve Ross, Michael Collins sort of duel at the front will continue?
Oh, most definitely, I think. Steve's been putting in a lot of work this weekend, so I think it might be, age might actually tell. He's a wily character, but the youngness of Mr. Collins might tell. They're both driving very well, of course.
Steve, of course, has been spending his time in 2 cars, so that might have taken a little bit of energy as well.
Oh, indeed. But I said to him, there's a couple of races happening out there. You're not in them, Steve. You know, what's going on?
So he's saving it up for this one?
Oh, hopefully. Yeah, 12 laps, it's a little bit longer, but it's a feature race. And the Motor Racing Club and the Canterbury Car Club have got together, and the family of Burt Hawthorn, who I do not know, we're hugely grateful to them, but they've donated one of Burt's original Formula 2 trophies when he won a Formula 2 race in about 1970 to somebody in this race. I don't know who that's going to be. The club are making up their mind, but that is a big deal, very big deal.
So can you just give us a little bit of the backstory on him?
Well, he was a very, very quick driver. I'm not the right person to do that, I'm sorry, really, to be totally accurate about it, but he was an up-and-coming Formula 2 driver doing very, very well here, and then went off to Europe, Driver to Europe scheme, I think they had it in those days, and sadly he lost his life in a car, obviously, and but he was starting in a winning way, and he would have climbed right into Formula 1, I have no doubt about it, but sadly he was taken away before that could happen.
So this race is a celebration of that?
Indeed, and historic motor racing are beautiful cars, poorly driven, they say, but it's more about celebrating those who drove them before us. Like Michael's car, Graham McRae drove that one. It's a 1972 winning Tasman Series car. Steve Ross's did lots of racing in the States as a Quicksilver car, and you keep on going down through the grid. They're all real cars, kept going. A little bit like grandfather's axes, you know, 10 new handles and 14 new heads, but they're still the car, and we celebrate those who drove them, and it's a great privilege.
Yeah, and it was a real privilege to travel with you guys up to Laguna Seca back in 2018, just before, you know, the world changed a little bit, and we celebrated the 50th anniversary of Formula 5000 up there. That's right. Wasn't it?
It was, and I think, well, you know, some of these cars are 50 years old. You don't have to do too much. We've got another little celebration today as well. Somebody who we fondly remember, Stan Redman, was driving with us. He passed away about 9 years ago. It'll be 10 years ago. And the English who were down here driving with us, because they come down most years, like the Australians do when we don't have COVID, and we'd have a few more cars. That's why we're not so numbered up. But the English donated a trophy called the Stan Redman Memorial Trophy, so that'll be awarded to one of these guys. It's not about silverware. That trophy goes to basically somebody who resembled Stan, who was a damn good bugger, if I'm allowed to say that word.
You're allowed to say that.
Yeah, okay. Oh, and there's old Phil Major winding up down there. I can hear that.
So
Sorry, I just wanted to say thank you also to some of our series sponsors. We've got Steve Wright here from MSC, New Zealand Express. They help us as well in Christchurch, Exide Batteries. And our main sponsor here is David Banks with his son Cody from SAS Autosports. And we couldn't do it without them. They gave us huge help, like the Canterbury Car Club.
Yeah, and you've had them on board for a couple of years now, yeah?
Oh, a very long time, yeah. Yeah, we're coming up to 20 years of doing this, so we're getting there.
20 years of you've been involved in for 20 years?
Yes, that's where it started, right here. So, people come and go, obviously. We've got new people into the cars here. The beautiful B32 Chevron, the one only car, is driven here by Alistair Chalmers. That car, believe it or not, was driven by Brian Redman in a race around the Isle of Man.
Wow.
Literally. Can you imagine that? One of these things around the Isle of Man.
So for people that are maybe on the live stream and seeing these kind of cars maybe for the first time, what's the experience like? You've driven these?
Yeah, well, you have to take your concrete pills before you do. And yeah, they get your attention. You cannot believe the acceleration. There's massive torque from these engines. At over 100 miles an hour on my speed, because I'm older than you, but 160k in third gear, you will get rotation out of the rear wheels just with pure acceleration. There's so much horsepower and torque. And then we're into the corner down there at 280k.
Yeah, I mean, they look beautiful, they go beautiful, and they were just under the Formula One cars of the time, right?
Oh, indeed, they were a little quicker in some of the races, and that's why I think they were stomped on in about 1976 and they stopped as a category. Yeah, they were quicker.
Yeah, I mean, they look like they're about to go out. I think the track has been cleared. So as they leave the garages, can you just give us a quick rundown on each one of them as they come out?
Okay, well, that's Michael Collins in the GM1, the ex-Graham McRae car, number 22. Steve Ross in the number 5, another GM1 Quicksilver car. He'll be followed up by Kevin Ingram in the number 30. It's a Lola 332. About to release him. And then following him, we've got a beautiful another Lola 332 driven by Bruce Kett, number 48. Behind that is a Chevron B32, number 32, the one only in the world. Alistair Chalmers driving that one. And then some of the older cars, these single sort of older 1970s A cars, as we call them, the McLarens.
So there we go. As you might have spotted on the live stream over the day, we're sort of a little bit tight on our cameraman. We're using Mr. Autofocus as our cameraman. So I just did a wee adjustment on the shot as the cars sit behind us. All right. So and where to next for you guys?
We're in Taupo on the 14th and 15th of May.
All right. I can't hear a thing as they go out, so I'll put it back to the commentary team up in the tower.
Thank you very much indeed. This is the Burt Hawthorn Cup that these guys are racing for today. Burt Hawthorn was awarded a cup in 1970 when he was driving a Formula 3 at Brands Hatch in 1970. He was given the cup. It's got Burt Hawthorn Cup on the back of it, and somebody else's name will be putting underneath that at the end of this race. Just a bit of background on Burt. Basically, a couple of years ago, the family of the late Burt donated a cup that he had been awarded, as I said, in 1970 for a race at Brands Hatch. We thought it was pretty appropriate that this is his home track, so it should go to somebody who is racing here and in a very fast class. Burt Hawthorn, well, he was one of many Kiwis who trod the motor racing path through the UK. Born in Northern Ireland, though, his family came out here in about 56, and they lived at Kaiapoi. Burt duly won the opening race of the championship here at Ruapuna, heading off Kenny Smith by half a second from Dave Oxton third, and that was we're talking about when the time was he was driving a BT21, a Brabham, which he brought to New Zealand and competed in the Formula Championship of 0 to 1600, which was at that stage a feeder series. So yeah, very, very good good background to Burt Hawthorn. A great friendship with Alan McGill resulted in Burt joining him at the Libre racing and a move to Formula 2, driving a factory Tui. See, names that are so familiar to us all. He won a European Championship race at Thruxton, but sadly that was his last. On the 14th of April 1972, the last round of the championship at Hockenheim, Burt was killed during the Jim Clark Memorial Trophy race when he was hit from behind. It's believed that the drive shaft issue had caused him to slow. So, an interesting story about an interesting man who we honour today. Burt Hawthorn. So we've got 12 laps of Formula 5000 drama and excitement.
What's the 12 laps? So normally these guys doing 8 laps.
Yeah, about 8 to 12, yeah.
What's the fuel capacity? How far can these things go?
Oh,
a wee way.
Yeah, it'll be a lot longer than 12, I can tell you. They don't have to pop in for a splash and dash.
So it's not, how far the car can go and how far the driver can go. It might be two different things.
Well, exactly, that's a good point. Rolling start as one would expect. And there'll be a quick presentation afterwards. And one of those drivers out there will be receiving the Burt Hawthorn Trophy. Dating back, as I said, to 1970. A Formula 3 race that he was awarded the trophy. And thank you to the Hawthorn family for letting us continue in memory and in the form of a cup so that his name will be carried on in the sport of motorsport. Very, very well thought of and very popular race driver.
So the safety car's pulling away. Michael Collins takes over the pace. Cars are all bunching up 2 by 2.
If it was raining, we could say they're heading off to Noah's Ark, but it ain't, and they're not.
Right.
Michael Collins in the
lights.
In the high vis car.
Racing. And guess who on the outside?
So Steve Ross takes him into the first corner. Michael Collins will be very quick to tag onto the back of him. We know that Steve Ross has led the races before. And I tell you what, there's nothing like a trophy, even if it's not one like the Lady Wigram Trophy race, but there's nothing like a trophy to put the extra pressure on these guys. And saying that, we've now got Mr. Collins. Michael Collins whistles through into the lead, and then come back to Steve Ross, and Kevin Ingram's right there as well, keeping an eye on what's happening in front of him.
Now, even though these cars have done a couple of warm-up laps, I don't imagine that the tyres are quite up and the brakes are quite up to temperature yet. So that turn one and the Euromark hairpin move. It's still a little bit on the edge, but these guys are good at the end of the weekend. So, like you say, all to play for.
Just having a wee look, Cody Banks is in car number 911. If you're a bit confused about what's going on out there, the two protagonists go across the line with a 1/6 of a second difference between them. Michael Collins, fastest lap of a 1:22 from a rolling start, I know, but there's nothing like a Formula 5000 race to fill the spectator areas.
And their ears.
Yes.
So that Collins car is just having a little read. 1972, built for Graham McRae. Raced in the Tasman 72, won the championship. Raced in UK 1972, US 1972, won championships. Sold to Cameron Earth Movers in New Zealand for the Dexter Dunlop to drive. And then the car was involved, it got burnt on the trailer on the Rakaya Bridge. Looks like, I'm not sure of the date. And then since then it's been fully restored by McRae Cars. That's the car that you see
basically
out there
once Graham had driven it, that's when he then decided he was going to build his own, and that became the McRae GM, standing for Graham McRae, GM1, and that's the car that's sitting in second spot.
Right.
The purple one with that Quicksilver sign writing all over it, and Steve Ross treats it very, very seriously. Kevin Ingram is in third spot, a wee bit away. Then come back to Cody Banks in 9-11, and the Talon. Grant Martin and the other Talon. Then there's a couple of Lola T332s, and then we've got three McLarens. And I must confess, I do love the fact that McLaren's is driving out here. This being the home, obviously, of the McLaren cars, being New Zealand.
Yeah, I was listening to interview on the radio during the week, and they were saying about how great it was to be in Melbourne, where half of the population, the Australian population, are there wearing the McLaren merchandise with pride, supporting their driver. But the Kiwis were having the last laugh because, of course, that's the that New Zealand brand so strong. So seeing the Aussies wearing the New Zealand McLaren merch with pride was great. A great victory.
Well, of course, they will consider that he was Australasian.
Yeah. Yeah.
The gap now between first and second, folks, has disappeared out to a 1.6.
They haven't rushed to claim Jacinta, though, have they? They haven't rushed to claim Jacinta.
No, no, they haven't. No, but anyway, that's another subject.
Oh, we don't go there.
Don't forget, if you do want to claim a T-shirt, there's still some down, I think, in the secretary's office. And if they have run out, you can order one. Give them $45, and they'll send it to you. I think you'll probably want to have a memento this weekend, and you can wear it with pride wherever you go to whatever track, and everybody knows that you were here when.
Now, I've been down there. They have men's and ladies' cut as well.
Oh, that's pretty handy.
Yes. So, so if you're one for the ladies as well, they've got specifically ladies.
His and hers.
His and hers.
Yes. Michael Collins in the letter. Steve Ross, and then they sort of come down into a bit of a predictable 3 at the front, and a gap back to a bit of a battle further back, which is Cody Banks and Grant Martin. But I think we might as well just about put Michael Collins' name on the trophy. What do you reckon?
Well, we're still 8 laps to go. We're not even halfway. It's early days. It's pretty warm out there. I mean, these cars have already done a fair amount of racing this weekend.
He's got a huge advantage there.
Yeah. You don't win on lap 5, unfortunately.
So just looking at the GM1 that Steve Ross is driving. Debuted in America, raced over there for several years. Stan Redman bought the car in 2003 and brought it to New Zealand for the Tasman Revival Series. And he also took it back to the Northern Hemisphere and raced it at Brands Hatch at Silverstone. Alistair Hay bought the car, and Chris Hyde drove it in the Tasman Renewal Series and did very, very well at it. And Steve has owned it since 2009. So a bit of a history there. Majority of these cars have been around the world and raced in most circuits. especially as classics, I think now they're getting more and more opportunities to race. 7 laps to go, that gap now is 2.5 seconds. So I don't think Steve's going to, unless there's a cloud of smoke in front of him, I don't think he's actually going to be able to accept the trophy, which I'll be presenting on behalf of the Motor Racing Drivers Club at the end of the race. Looking at car number 6, that's the 48, I should say. No, car number 48, which is the blue Lola T332. Very, very distinctive. It stands out dramatically. Once again, it's had a few people who have owned it, mainly done things over in the UK and also, of course, in the United States of America. A lot of these cars were produced for American racing, and you can see the cars at the moment. That's Bruce Kitt having a battle as they're coming in through the hairpin. So very much a history of the South America, should I say, the United States of America for car number 48, with Bruce Kitt driving it. Cody Banks goes through in the Talon, then we'll have Bruce Kitt and Tony Galbraith who are fighting out in their Lolders. Very similar cars, but big air scoops, which gives you a very good idea that it's a T332.
We're just watching Michael Collins coming through the casino and into the Southern Salvage S's, just watching very carefully that Steve Ross has just got a new lease of life on. He's 300s quicker in Sector 1 and 200s quicker in Sector 2, so that 2.3 second lead is just about to get whittled down a fraction as they come across the line. Where are they? No. Yeah, Steve Ross has put in a fastest lap, 300ths quicker, so now the gap's dropped to under 2 seconds. So it's still not over yet. We have 5 laps to go. So all very well starting, but you still got to get to the end, and tyres lasting and all those sorts of things come into account.
And just as we're watching the other cars, I just want to mention what I would think has to be one of the prettiest cars out there, and that's car number 12, driven by Frank Cowell. It's the McLaren, which is the green one with the gold wing noses, or nose wings. Basically started life in 73 in the South Africa, and has done a lot of work since then, but it's mainly been here in New Zealand. The third season, this is the third season for Cowell. And he's used to be known for driving an Austin Healey 3000, which he still has. But I'll tell you what, he would love driving that McLaren a lot more than he would the Healey. I'm very, very sure.
Wow, interesting.
4 laps to go as our leader goes thundering through.
Yeah,
Steve Ross is forward and right back. It's another 3.1 difference now.
Yeah, so Michael Collins responded with a blistering lap compared with Steve. He was at 1.2 seconds faster. So I think Michael's been mastering the art of winning as slowly as you can. Winning as slowly as you can.
Yeah, that's right. So you don't want to wear everything out.
You don't want to wear everything out.
He's coming up now to start lapping cars.
Yeah, so this is where it gets a little bit interesting.
That's always an interesting thought, because if he does get caught behind slow traffic and he can't get through, for whatever reason, that's going to let Steve Ross move up behind him. And then, of course, Steve's got the same problem. He's got to get past the same cars. So
yeah, so we watch this as they come into Southern Salvage. Yeah.
So he's in amongst the McLarens now.
Amongst them, they've seen him. Now Steve Ross has got all that work to do. He'll be hoping to catch them on the back straight. If not, he's just going to have to be patient around Avon City Ford Sweeper and then take them on the main straight here.
He'll go around the outside and duck on into the inside.
Duck on the inside.
And that's exactly what he does. No, that gap's 2.9, so he just managed to get just a whisker.
He's picked up 200, so...
Well, 2/10. So that's even better. So, yeah, but 2/10 is... when you've got a 2.9 second gap is tempting, but...
Yeah.
Tempting, but two and a half laps to go for our leader, Michael Collins. As I said, I was pretty sure that I was going to be presenting the Burt Hawthorn Cup to him, and it looks very much as though I will be. So.
Commentators chitter.
Unless something untoward were to happen, I think is what we should say, shouldn't we?
Yeah, I don't like to call the race until it's the checkered flag's been waved. So, and definitely Steve Ross is not going to give up. He's going to race to the end. That's the way he operates. Michael Collins onto the main straight. Puts another one in the book.
Just a couple to go. Yeah, it's out to 3.6.
Yeah, so it's concertinaing a bit, the gap. It looks like Michael is managing it well so far.
Perhaps I'm old-fashioned, but I do love those McLarens. No dramas, no big air scoops, just they look like race cars.
Yes, it's quite patriotic of you as well. Just watching Grant Martin on the screen there, that number 2 car. Currently in 4th place. It's 28 seconds behind the leaders, but only 7 seconds off P3, so he still have his eye on that position maybe.
As he further back, some of the dices that have been happening, Cody Banks and Tony Galbraith, for example, have quietly gone their own way.
So Michael maintaining that lead, 3.6 seconds.
Michael Collins continues to lap different cars. He's just gone past Bruce Kett. Steve Ross is sitting there watching him disappear into the future. But I mean, no reflection on the ability of Steve Ross. It's just that Michael Collins is absolutely amazing in one of these cars. And of course, he's going to jump out of that and climb into PDL1 and go and pedal that around as though there's no tomorrow. So, last lap, and then it's a quick presentation, and then we're going to be back entertaining you with the Archibalds Historic Touring cars before we have the final race for the VCC, and we'll round you out today with the John Osborne Saloons. But in the meantime, Michael Collins
across the line.
Takes the checkered flag as he who will be getting the Burt Hawthorn Cup. And very, very good race, and thank you, Formula 5000s, for coming out and entertaining us.
We've got a car around on the infield. Who's that? one of the McLarens. Was that Toby? Yep, Toby Annabelle. Just having a quick look, check the grass. Oh yeah, it's looking a little bit twitchy. A bit of sideways action. A little bit of sideways action. Okay, that was the Formula 5000s for the day. They'll be, I think Adam will be showing on the live stream the presentation of that cup, and up shortly will be the historic touring cars.
So I'm here with Rod Corbett, who's been up in the commentary. It's been great having sort of chats with you, but not chats with you all day, crossing between the two. It's been working really well.
It has been working very well. It's lovely to and I loved your interviews because we would normally be playing music, and it's rather nice to have somebody actually introducing for the fans, both here and watching at home. Of course, that they can actually see the drivers and see the car, hear the people's voices, which is really, really great. And we've got a very noisy car behind us who's about to receive the Burt Hawthorn Cup for the first ever time. So, Michael Collins, what an amazing weekend he's had.
Yeah, he's a great driver, and he really loves driving that car, and he hasn't been in it for a year, so he's done bloody well. Well, I'll hand the mic over to you so you can go and present the trophy. But awesome, there you go.
Well, I might have to wait for the poor man to get his helmet off. Well, I'm not going to talk to you until you got your helmet off. Michael Collins, congratulations, mate. You've done very, very well. All weekend, you've just been able to hold that Steve Ross at heart.
Yeah, just managed to keep Steve behind us there, so sort of managed to just find a gap after that first lap and tried to hold on to it for as long as I could.
Now, this, the cup which you've just won is the Burt Hawthorn Cup. The Motor Racing Club wanted it to go to the fastest person for the main race, which is obviously the main race for the 5000s. Do you know anything about Burt Hawthorn?
Yeah, I sort of know a little bit about. He was a sort of a local Canterbury guy that just started to make it overseas, and then obviously unfortunately had his accident. But yeah, that's a pretty cool trophy to have. You know, like from especially being a local guy as well. You know.
This is the first time it's ever been presented, and it's last presented to somebody was after a Formula 3 race at Brands Hatch in 1970. So that's yours. Congratulations, buddy. And treasure it. We'll put your name on the back of it, underneath Brent's.
Wow. And
then underneath Burt's, I should say. And then it's on the line again next year. So you might need to.
Better get back together.
You better clean it before you start drinking any whiskey out of it. But well done. Put your hands together, folks. The man who's made it possible to win that trophy, and well done once again.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
It's very exciting. We've got about 150 competitors, and one of the things I love about the SKOPE Classic is they're all classic, extremely cool cars. It was the BP Alpha, and then it was PDL Classic, which was my grandfather's company, which was run by my uncle Mark. They sold the business to Schneider, and I imagine Schneider said, we're not sponsoring an event in New Zealand, we've got other things we do. And I've always teased my father and said that at the drivers' dinner on the Saturday night, they said, well, you know, PDL is leaving us, we've got no one to sponsor us, woe is me, and Dad stood up and said, oh, I'll do it, and sat down and looked at his brother and said, how much is that going to cost me? And the next day when he informed me that this is what we were doing, I said, well, I better take over from here, Dad. It was about 22 years ago. I think I was 31. It was the year I started. The first year of the SKOPE Classic is the year I started racing. I took the view that you had to love the car you were going to race, because when you have a crash, you want to rebuild it. And I've always loved Porsches. I think they're amazing cars. They're complicated. They're difficult. Old Porsches are difficult to drive because of their desire to go sideways and snap ends. And a friend of mine found this car for me, and it's a replica of in 1974 there was a race called the International Race of Champions, or IROC, where they had 13 identical Porsches that were all based on a 911 RSR, and it was a North American race, and this is a replica of that. My sole goal for weekends like this is to put my car on the trailer straight. I don't care where I come. That's, I'll be in classes with much faster cars. The weekend is focused around families. If a child's into racing cars, come and sit in my car, get your photograph taken in it. And the other thing is, typically, if you had a poster on your wall when you were a kid, you'll probably find it here. So you go from something like my 300 horsepower 6-cylinder rear-ended Porsche to the monstrous V8 F5000 cars to open wheel classic vintage class. The very old cars, saloon cars, you name it, it's here, and it's about having fun.
So I'm here with Mark Wetherall, the General Manager of the track. How are you feeling about how the weekend's gone so far?
Oh, I'm absolutely stoked. It's just been perfect. It's been as good as a February SKOPE would have been, if not a little bit better. Weather's been nice, not so hot, not dusty. Yeah, real happy with the result.
Nice green field too.
It's nice to have a green field at SKOPE, isn't it? Perfect.
And so, obviously we've got a few races to run. What have been some of the highlights for you?
Oh, there isn't a highlight. I just love the whole classic racing. I love SKOPE Classic for what it is. You talk to Philip Hoffman, those people early on. It's the camaraderie. It's just people come down here. The racing's great, but the stuff that goes on in the pits, people showing off their cars and all that, is just amazing.
And I think that, not just the history of the cars, but there's a lot of familiar faces that I've seen coming along to this race meeting for many years. I think I first came here in the early 90s, BP Alpha era. And a lot of those people are still coming along, which is really testament to what the event is and how great the event is.
Absolutely. I get told on a regular basis how long people have been coming. I'm pretty new. I've been in the GM role 9 years, so I've done nine SKOPEs. Before that, I'd done a few as a volunteer, but we're always reminded by those people that have been doing it for many, many years how good it was then, how good it is now, and we want to keep that format going.
So what are some of the things you're looking at for future?
I think now that the borders are opening up, we'll definitely look to get some of those international drivers back. It's always been a highlight to have, some of those ex-supercar drivers and if we get some of them back into the historic touring cars, we'd love to do that. Just keep growing the grids that we've got. There's a lot of cool cars in New Zealand, and we just need to get them here. I think this being live streamed this weekend will sort of show off what we can do, or what we do here, and I think, it's a place to be.
It's been a real pleasure to be down here myself and be able to come and talk to some of the drivers, see some of the cars, and have a really fun weekend and interview some people and find out their stories.
Yeah, I think that's what we were trying to achieve with the live stream. If we just focused on the racing, I think it'd be a little bit average, boring maybe. But SKOPE is about the driving, the racing, and then the people in the pits, the fans, and it's just that whole mixture of what goes on here, and you've been able to tell that story with the live stream. So I think to anyone out there that has watched the live stream, book your airfares. There'll be a early February next year, and get your accommodation booked now.
So what am I going to do? I came down here in 2020 with my car, which I was so pleased to see it on the cover. That's a little Ford Escort on the cover of the... I think, were you doing that to butter me up to come and do this live stream?
No, it was just by chance. It was just a good photo, great car. So, yeah, it's going to be a problem, though, if you want to come racing, isn't it? And we're going to carry on this live stream, so it'd be cool for people that are watching the live stream this weekend to give their feedback and comments on what they think of it and whether they want us to continue on with it next year.
Well, anyone that says they don't want it, we'll delete those ones.
Absolutely. I think it's definitely something that will stay now. I'm really keen to build the live stream, add another level to the SKOPE Classic. The event on the ground is always awesome, so let's let the people that can't make it from overseas, around the country, that they can join in for the weekend.
It's been really nice. We've had a few people comment on I think on YouTube it was, that are watching in Australia and Germany and other places around the world. So, I mean, it is an international event. There are great cars here and some great racing. So hopefully we can just continue on and build them. And talking about that, what's coming up next?
I think that'll be the historic touring cars off their final race. So that'll be an exciting race.
I love those cars. I was living in Britain in the sort of early 90s, I think it was, or late 90s, somewhere in there, and I managed to get along and see British touring cars, and a lot of the cars on this grid are the ones I kind of remember from that period. So amazing cars and really, really fast for a 2-litre touring car.
They're quite incredible, aren't they? The one that's just gone out first there, the one that Angus Fogg's driving. Last year I was lucky enough to go for a hot lap with a hot lap in it, and it was just amazing. Beautiful car, beautiful, beautiful car.
Was Jim Richards driving it?
No, Paul Radisich. And he was smooth, man. He was just made it look so easy.
And the crazy thing about this particular grid is you've got all these old British touring cars that are 2 litres. You've got turbocharged Group A cars, and then you've got, just going out now, there's the Jaguar, which is from an earlier era again. So it really does represent a huge history of motor racing.
Yeah, we're really lucky to have the support of the historic touring cars. A lot of the guys are local. But it's just a class that you just look at it and you just sort of say, wow, don't you? Like, you know, and that Sierra that just popped out at the end there, they're just very cool cars.
Yeah, we're so lucky here in this part of the world to have some of the best cars represented on a grid right here today.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. You think, right, little old New Zealand, here we are in Christchurch, and sometimes I take it for granted. It's my job and it's what I see, you know, on a regular basis, but we really are spoilt.
All right, on that note, we'll go upstairs and we'll see them racing and find out how it all goes for their last race.
Right. The historic touring cars are on the grid, all ready to depart for their formation lap.
Some more ready than others by the look of it.
So Aaron Black is closing gaps all over the place. Bruce Miles has got the Super last time started 20 seconds behind him. So we are set to go over 8 laps for a rolling start. Good to see that we've got all of the usual suspects back out there again, although I hear Chris Hyde is not driving.
Chris is not in the car,
Dick
so
Johnson 17.
Yep, so Lance,
I think
Lance is in the car, but I think he'll start off the back because he hasn't driven for some time. And
he drove the first race last night.
He drove the first race.
Yes,
yeah, I think
that's
he'll
right.
just be more confident starting off the back. So expect to see the Sierra down the back.
And the comparative lap times when we saw him drive last night, he's roughly 3 seconds a lap slower than where Chris is.
Yeah.
So he'll be in that mid 135 pack.
So there's a good explanation for that, is because the question of who ate all the pies, well, when they come from Copeland's, maybe Lance ate the pies.
There we are.
That'll be what it was. So I haven't actually met him, but I've given him a good ribbing right from the start.
That's right.
So,
That's right. So Chris gets to park up and watch as the professional motor racing driver, professional motor racing teacher that he is.
Yep. But the car's obviously been going very well. Chris said, I think in the last race that he obviously had a bit of tyre management issues. I think they got a bit hot and they just didn't give any more. So, but yeah.
And did he have anything to say about the final move at Euromark where Nigel Arkell managed to send it up the inside and grab that race win?
No, I didn't quiz him on that, to be honest. So
it was a good move. It was an exceptional move. We saw how strong Arkell was every single time into the hairpin.
Right.
And I think it was just the presence of Gary Johnson in the XJS opened the opportunity, and Arkell put both feet firmly in the door.
Right. So the safety car lights are out. The safety car will come into the pits, and now Nigel is in control of the pace of the pack, and they're all just closing up. Red lights are on. Red lights are on. Red lights are on. Red lights are on.
It's great commentary.
Green, we're racing. We're racing.
Arkell has a good start. Aaron Black, the Roberto Ravaglia replica, third, Lindsay O'Donnell, who finished strong in the Super Tourer this afternoon's early race, is up there in fourth. In fact, it looks like, is that Angus Fogg who's jumped up in there into fourth place in the BMW?
Yeah, it looks like
Great
it.
start from Foggy. So he hauls up behind Darren Black, although he's gone deep into Link and loses a lot of ground.
A lot of ground there.
So it's Arkell from Miles, from Black, from Fogg, from O'Donnell. Then you've got Stephen Kelly in the Bastos M3, who's under pressure from Phil Major in the Primera. Murray Cleland in the DHL BMW, ahead of, I think that's Trevor Crow in the 635, who's gotten up ahead of Kevin Pateman in the Telstar. Then Gary Johnston in the XJS, the Mondeo of Conrad Timms, that's the ex-Paul Radisich WTC car of Paul Radisich. And we'll keep an eye on the Exeter Johnson Sierra from the back of the pack. He's already managed to make his way through Matthew O'Donnell and Warren Good at the two BMWs at the tail.
And he's about to take over the Jag, the XJS. Oh, he's up the inside.
Obviously, still moving. Austin is fast. There's an art to drive in traffic. Yeah. And not
so we've got a car, looks like it's slowing.
That's
on
up the outside, it is the Telstar of Kevin Pateman, who pulls off into the drag pits at the end of the front straight. We turn our attention back to the lead.
Yep, there's Kevin pulled in. Got a problem with that car. It's been a long weekend.
Yeah, time to put it on the trailer and think about next year.
Yep.
Nigel Arkell continues to lead. Bruce Miles in the BMW second. Darren Black in the M3 and third. Angus Fogg. Now that car of Angus Fogg's, that's the ex-Jim Richards 635 Group C car. It seems to be quick at the start of races and seems to rapidly run out of tyres.
Yeah. Well, the perception is it's a much heavier car than the ones in front.
Yep.
And it's probably, if it is, it's probably a bit harder on tyres after 3 or 4 laps. So
I'm also watching the fact that Angus Fogg seems to be enjoying himself immensely in it and not necessarily driving it in as straight a line as he could be. The tail does seem to come out in order to down when Foggy's
the yeehaw race of the weekend.
Bruce Miles very close on that lap time, 200ths behind. Well, wait. The Super Tourer of Lindsay O'Donnell is one to watch later on in the race. It seems to take a while for the tyres on that Volvo to come on.
You kind of get the feeling with Angus looking at that car, you know, it's one of those situations where you got one race to go today, but you look at the tyres and you think, I could get 3 races out of those, or this last race, if I put it sideways a bit,
exactly.
I think I'll take just one.
Well, and to be fair, all Foggy's got to do is hand the keys back and make
that's
sure that
right.
all the corners are straight.
Yeah, that's right, exactly.
So as long as the doesn't matter what the tread looks like, that's the next person's problem. There's a good battle going into Fulton Hogan. Lindsay O'Donnell ahead of Phil Major, and then Conrad Timms. Oh no, Stephen Kelly in the Bastos BMW. Our leaders come through the Southern Salvage S's. Look at that low sun.
Yes, it'll be a slightly different angle for the guys. A little bit harder on the drivers. The sun's starting to come down, so especially this main straight.
Yeah, those shadows are lengthening as Arkell puts it in gear at 133 flat. Bruce Miles again 800 slower that time. They're just matching each other lap for lap.
Having the ball.
And Bruce Miles is only a matter of 5 or 6 car lengths behind Arkell.
No, that's right.
So they're certainly matching each other for pace. That Arkel Accord is a purchased by Honda America to be part of their factory race program. So it's actually a North American touring car championship car.
Interesting.
As opposed to the regular cars that we see out here that are race prep
Come
for
out
the
of Europe.
British touring car championship.
So we watch the boys come through Southern Salvage. Not much in it. Bruce just hanging in there, biding his time.
Yeah,
you only have to be in front of that car for one lap. That's the last one.
That's right, and we've seen Bruce do that this weekend. I think he's had an excellent weekend in the Jägermeister Super Tourer.
You use a lot less energy if you're not defending for the last 5 laps.
Right.
So
You'd far rather be chasing than defending.
So he's there or thereabouts, and he's just thrown in a fastest lap by.
And this time by
a number. I don't know. Rachel Riley will be able to work out what the number is, but I'm not sure we can. But not much.
Again, the pace between the pace difference between Arkel and Miles is just incredible.
Yeah.
They've been within a tenth of a second per lap over the last 3 laps. It's fantastic racing between this pair at the front. Aaron Black is having a little bit of a lonely race in the Roberta Ravaglia replica M3 in third. Then Angus Fogg, who's starting to run out of tyres in that big heavy Group C.
So he kicked up a bit of dust at Link then.
And watch Lindsay O'Donnell start to close him in. He'll drag Phil Major in the Primera with him, and Stephen Kelly in the Bastos BMW. Oh, there's Fogg with an issue. So Fogg slowing out of Fulton Hogan.
Yep.
It's an unfortunate end for Foggy's weekend.
It looks like more than Mr. Gear, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, unless he's missing a lot of them.
All the bits of the gears will be in there.
It's just it's like a Lego set.
Yeah.
You've just got to have the time to put it all back together again.
Yeah. Yeah, that's continuing to go slow.
He stays off the racing line and lets the rest of the field through. Arkel responds with another fastest lap, a 32.6 this time, as the gap now extends to 1.2 seconds over Bruce Miles.
He's going to limp that back into the pits. Not one to want to park up and walk home, so he doesn't want to be towed in.
No, exactly. And so an incredible amount of history in that car as well. You'd imagine that at the moment you heard something slightly untoward, you'd be thinking, right, I have an obligation to get this back to the pits in one piece.
Not all drivers think that way. We were having a great old chat with one particular family yesterday who was watching a video of one of the family. Were you here?
Yes.
And he said,
that noise
when you hear that ticking sound, what did you do?
I went faster.
We went faster. Yeah, but then the ticking sound became a knocking sound.
That's right, we're still going fast though.
Yeah, still going fast.
Pistons through engine walls is not really the way that not really the way to treat a premium piece of German manufacture.
We didn't mention any names. They know who they are.
Exactly. So 2 laps to go this time around, and Arkel's got a little bit of breathing space between himself and Bruce Miles, out to 1.7 seconds. Just casting our eye back to the M3 in third. That's Aaron Black. So that car's a recreation of the winning 1989 German Touring Car Championship winning car, driven by Roberta Ravaglia.
And I think it's exact, like it's got actual parts. So
yes, I think so.
If I recall, they had to wait like a couple of years to get bearings and things because they're quite specific to that engine, and
Yeah, it's full schnitzer.
It's a
works.
full, the whole deal, yeah.
That's right. So when you say it's a recreation, it's not a. It's a. Yeah, the word replica is a little bit tough because it's actually building a car out of the bits
identical
that were
that
used to go that used to make up the original. So it is a true recreation of that '89 German touring car winning championship car. Lindsay O'Donnell in that Volvo. I still remember watching the Volvos when they first came into the British Touring Car Championship. That one, Lindsay O'Donnell's car is a 1997 version, originally campaigned by Rickard Rydell.
Oh wow!
In the British touring car. And this car actually placed third in the '99 Bathurst race, piloted by Craig Beard. So there's an immense amount of history.
Okay, last lap orders out.
The O'Donnell car.
So the leaders have gone over the line, and I think Bruce Miles is just a little bit too far back, 2.5 seconds.
It shows how well Bruce drove yesterday afternoon when he got in front of Nigel and held him off for the entire race.
Yep.
Bruce drove incredibly well.
Yep.
But once Nigel's managed to get ahead, the handling of that Accord and particularly in the infield complex here has just been exemplary. And Arkell continues to lead comfortably. He's backed off a little. Bruce Miles is close by 3/4 of a second in the first sector, but I think Nigel will just be managing the
he'll
gap.
manage that home.
The gap for fourth, however, is now a big concertina snake as O'Donnell has.
I'm just gonna look back at P1 and 2 because maybe Nigel backed off a little bit too much. That was looking like in with a sniff. So
he's managed it.
He has managed it, but.
They come around the final corner for the final time this weekend. The checkered flag is available for Nigel Arkell in the Accord, who will take the line honours ahead of Bruce Miles in the BMW Super Tourer. Third place will go to Aaron Black in the recreated Roberto Ravaglia 89 German touring car. Lindsay O'Donnell in the Rickard Rydell Volvo, and then Phil Major in the Primera just holds off Stephen Kelly, Murray Cleland and Conrad Timms in the Radisich Mondeo. Well, an excellent finish to the historic touring cars, and great to see 90% finishing rate as well from these incredibly important pieces of history.
And Lance, be happy with that, up to 9th.
In the 36.7. There'll be Chris will go through the video with him.
That's right.
And they'll continue to work on that. But at the moment, there's no better teacher around here than Chris Hyde.
Yeah.
So that's the Archibalds Historic Touring Cars. We'll be back shortly with the Murray Maxwell Vintage Cars, and we'll throw down to Adam with another interview.
So I'm down here with Rod Corbett, who's driving a beautiful little red Triumph TR3A, I'm told. So how's your weekend going?
Oh, brilliant. This is such a fantastic event, and it's just so well run, and it's great to be here. It's, as much as anything, it's a social event for us. We come up from Wanaka and catch up with people we haven't seen for 12 months, and of course we thoroughly enjoy the racing as well, but it's a brilliant event.
And so how long have you been racing this car for?
We've owned this one for about 20 years. We've got another one, an older one, that we've owned and raced for about 30, but they're great old cars. They're not that quick, but we go out and have some fun.
And so the grid itself, obviously you've raced with some of these guys quite a few times.
Oh yeah, and many of them are much quicker, but that's the great thing about the VCC event, because it's got a complete mixture of vintage full racing cars along through to sports cars and everything in between.
Vintage cars, drivers to your vehicles and start your engines.
So that was the drivers start your engine, so that probably means we should end the interview and move on. I'll get out of the way.
Gone, the lights are out, and as I said, Russ Haynes got all sorts of wheel spin, but very quick off the mark. Watch also for Graham Hamilton in Ace 3. That's car number 13 as they disappear off down in towards the first corner, which is Abbott Insurance, and yes, it is the little Lotus 23 that leads them through. We'll find out what happened. Remember that the Stanton Corvette was having trouble with its clutch earlier in the weekend, but he may have just decided that he's enjoyed some racing and he's got to get home to Blenheim.
Three races is enough for him.
Yeah, well, Russ is he's not 27 anymore. But anyway, no, he's a great campaigner, believe me. He wouldn't give up because he was puffed. Down and through the Euromark for the first time, and it's the Lotus 23 of Mark Barrett. Russell Haynes, who suddenly got some speed in the last race and nearly took the lead. Then come back to Graham Hamilton in the Ace 3, which is probably, goodness knows how old that is. I mean, it was
1957 listed.
1957.
Rob, in the program, I've got notes from my old man that tells me that it was Hick Green's RA1.
That's right. Hick Green built it.
Yeah, that's right. And many changes due to arguments with power poles at Marahau in the 1950s.
Well, there you are.
So I imagine that that car has changed shape a large number of times.
Well, it's just sort of been a little touch of plastic surgery.
That's right.
In that case, it's actually metal
plastic
surgery.
and metal surgery, exactly, of the
alloy
era.
surgery, I think it's called.
So we'll keep an eye on Graham Hamilton and see if he can stay ahead of the Spangarelli of Bill Cowie.
Well, by the look of the three of them, it's pretty evenly spaced, even though we're pretty early on. Then predictably, it's Bill Cowie and McDonough who are following them through. Paul Taylor will come next in the little sports Mistral. The car that we don't talk too much about is the little Wolseley 1500 in Colin Hayes' hands. It's the only saloon car out there, which is rather fun. I mean, that makes this little point of difference, which is lovely.
It does. Yeah, lots of little sports cars out there as well, as you say.
Look at that Delage.
The Mistrals, the Daimlers. That Delage is just ridiculous.
I mean,
it is a piece of art,
isn't it?
1939.
So let's have a look at the leaders again. He's got a really good jump. Has Mark Barrett. So he's coming through the carousel.
Yeah, this is
Russell Haynes has dropped fair way back, but just don't forget that he gets a spurt on towards the end of the race. And he suddenly finds a bit of I don't know whether the tyres eventually heat up or what. But you're talking about getting 2 or 3 races out of a set of tyres. In this class, you get 2 or 3 years out of a set of tyres.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Believe me, you do.
That Frangipelli of Russ Haynes, it's representing a 1965 period special, but so it's running a Holden 2.6 or 161 cubic inch engine with a 4-speed with a Zephyr Mark IV independent rear. So that it's a previous winner at Ashley Forest, Gibby's Pass and Hawkswood Hill climbs. So even though it's built slightly more recently than that 1965 that it represents, and it's got a little bit of more recent equipment in it, it has still been built to run in that same period and still runs the same aspect in terms of running hill climbs, running rallies, running circuits. This is what these cars were built for. They were built as an all-comers class to run anything and everything.
I mean, cars in those days were all-rounders, weren't they? So hill climbs were very, very big part of the whole thing. We don't seem to have hill climbs anymore.
Well, hill climbs are re-emerging. You've still got the rally sprints, the likes of the Ashley Forest and that sort of thing, but there are some hill climbs that are up north as well.
Oh, good.
Quite a number of them are now on private driveways. And I'd like to think that the Queenstown, the Race to the Sky, would be resurrected at some stage should this COVID-19 nonsense finally come to an eventual end.
Well, just looking at our leader, who's definitely got the lead sorted out, is Mark Barrett. We'll be finding out, obviously, what's happened to Tracy.
So, in respect of lap times, Rob, bearing in mind that that car also bears your name on the side of it, well, Mark's running a 43.6.
That's very quick for that little car.
That's what I thought. He's going very, very well, isn't he?
Very well. In fact, I think, that's as fast as the little car will go.
Excellent. Excellent. It's great to see him pushing the car out as far as pushing the car's limits as far as he is.
I mean, it probably has gone faster, but the conditions were different.
Right. Yes. Yep.
You've got to admit, it's very pretty in the white, isn't it?
Oh, it is. It's
very
looks
pretty
gorgeous.
in the
The
white.
beautiful stripe. And Mark does a good job of tracing it too.
So I'm just looking at his lines as we're following the live stream. He's got those lines superbly sorted.
Doesn't he?
Goes in deep. That's what I was talking to you about earlier. Goes in deep and then cuts across. And he's got no pressure, no chance of anybody being close enough to be able to put their nose in and destroy the line. So he's doing a copybook race, I think one could say.
Well, he's basically got the opportunity to just go out there and do hot laps in the little Lotus, and there you see him clip the inside curb, fade out
That's
left,
exactly
and then
the line
come straight
that
back
Chris-
outside. Yep.
Yeah, Chris Hyde would show you that line.
He could have gone a little bit wider on the exit to the second, yes, he could. But,
Oh, okay.
I tell you, it's great stuff. The live cam footage that we're seeing, courtesy of the Fast Files guys, it gives you a perspective of different parts of the track that you don't often see.
Exactly.
From sitting in one place. So
Well, he's now coming up and he's starting to lap cars. He's lapped the Giles in the Morgan and Mike Crehan in the Delage. And that's always a good feeling when you see a blue flag and it's for you, not about you. Well, you put it this way, you've caused the blue flag. It's not aimed at you.
that Morgan's a lovely piece of kit too, isn't it? Oh, we've got a spin. Oh, that was...
Oh, that's Brian Ashworth in the 250.
I thought for a moment there that Brian was going to re-enter the track rather quickly, but he identifies the identifies a gap and rejoins.
Yep, no, he's good. He'll be a bit grumpy with himself, I can promise you.
And in an open top sports car, that cloud of dust that he's got will end up all over him as well. So
yeah, it's not a good feeling.
He'll be wiping the visor clear.
So let's just run through them at the moment in the order that they're in. It's Mark Barrett from Russell Haynes, from Graham Hamilton, John McDonough, Bill Cowie, Paul Taylor, who's doing a brilliant job in his little car, Russell Yates in the MGB, the Cato Special is next, and then the TR3A in the hands of Rod Corbett. Brian Ashworth, who's just had a wee spin, and so that puts him back a fair way. But anyway, it's... I tell you what, it's definitely the day for that little... I've lost Russell Haynes.
No, Russ was still... He came across the line
just come
before. There he is, out of the second S.
My God, that gap.
So Russ
No,
is-
he must have had a moment.
Well, look, he's doing... He did a 152 last time around. I think
I don't
Russ
know.
is...
I mean,
I think Russ is Luke Marco with this one.
The Ace 3's still sort of about the same. Oh, dropped off a wee bit. I think Tracy Barrett might have to buy the wine tonight.
Yeah, I think so. Mark is absolutely flying out there.
1:43 is his best time, and the next closest to his, seriously, Russell Haynes, a second slower. Well, the gap, Tracy, between your man and Russ is 19.8 seconds.
Is that Murray Frew with a moment out of the hairpin? I think he's managed to get a.
That's Peter Levisic.
Oh, is that Peter Levisic in the special?
Yeah, with the monkey bars as a roll cage. Oh, well done, VCC guys! Another brilliant demonstration, and I tell you what, they can all be proud, I reckon, Hayden, because they brought those cars out. They keep these old cars going. They're all period. They're not hot rodded, and I think it's absolutely brilliant. I mean, just to have a look at that Austin Healey 3000, which is the Tim Stace one. That's the first time he's driven on a track. as this weekend.
That's incredible, isn't it?
So you watch him work his way back up once he gets the hang of it. Mark Barrett comes through and passes Peter Levisic.
Once again, another car with an amazing amount of history. That's Stuart Special. First appeared at Aranui Speedway in 1955. Beach titles with Neil Smith and with Neil Stewart and Norm Smith.
Checkered flag it is for car number 12, the Lotus 23 of Mark Barrett. Brilliant drive by him. The gap back to Russ Haynes is, I can't believe how big that is. I mean, not disrespectful for Mark, but normally Russ and Graham Hamilton are much more competitive than that. In fact, as I'm saying that, looking at second and third, here comes the Ace-3, and it's going to take second spot. Russ Haynes is going to be so disappointed. He's obviously had to slow down for some reason.
He was low in the 152s for the last couple of laps, giving Graham Hamilton the opportunity.
Yeah.
The Ace-3 takes second place, ahead of the Frangipelli in third, and then it will be John McDonough coming across the line in the Mistral for fourth, ahead of Bill Cowie in the Spangarelli. And then
he's got that going well now. I mean, he had a lot of teething problems initially, but he's got it going really nicely now.
Just needs it to handle a little bit better around the twisty-turny parts, but that's the whole nature of the Spangarelli, right?
Delage gives a big wave, as does Giles and the Little Morgan. I just think that's such a lovely class, it really is. 303 goes through a big wave from Paul Taylor, who ended up being in 6th place. Lovely people down there.
There are. They're highly considerate of everyone of all the effort that's gone
TR3A comes through, and I mean, I love those cars. The big grille right across saying that I'm a TR3A. You know, I'm not a TR3, I'm a TR3A. And that's Rod Corbett's car. Well, once again, thank you very much. You're not going to go home now.
You can go home, Rob. We've still got one more race to go.
Yeah, but I know a guy called Archie Milligan.
Exactly. Well, you can subcontract your obligations for the last race. The John Osborne Saloons will be out on the track again shortly.
You see, I'm putting rank because of age, you see, mate.
we will thank you for your efforts, Rob Cope-Williams.
Oh,
it's been a pleasure as always.
I can just about feel the cold chill of the beer glass. Anyway, lovely to be with you all, and we'll see you at the next motor racing meeting. Cheers.
So we're down here with Matt Robinson, who's in the BMW 635. Tell us, this used to be your family car, you said?
Yes, it was. We got it in 2008 and used it for a family car up until 14, I think. Yeah, so it was a nice family car, but our children just got a little bit too big for the back.
So you turned it into a race car. That's a brilliant story, isn't it? And tell us, how's the weekend go?
It's going pretty good. Had a rough afternoon yesterday. I broke a screw come out of my distributor rotor cap and destroyed my distributor, but I was managed to get it going again today, and it's going to go. Yeah, it's going well.
So you told me it's a pretty stock sort of road car you've just turned into a race car. What have you done to it?
Not too much. It's just a standard motor that I presume was assembled in 1984. I haven't touched it. And I put a dogleg gearbox in it. That's about all I've done.
And so racing-wise, what sort of? it's a pretty fast grid. Who are you racing against? Your Matt gave you a little tap a love tap in the lane here, just to say he's there. Is he?
It's a guy in that. It's a green 535. He often enjoys tapping me there, especially on the dummy grid. But you've just got to keep your eye open.
It's all good fun, though, right?
Totally.
And so you two are obviously pretty close on the track too.
Yes, we are. Kevin, he changes his brake pads for every race. He puts a different compound in. I don't know what he's up to, but it's interesting.
So he's going to the nth degree to try and beat you?
Oh, he is.
So how many scopes have you done?
Scope, I did 2 in the 90s, and then I stopped, and I probably started again in 2016, so I think I've done about 4 or 5 now.
What brought you back?
Oh, it's a great meeting. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it looks like you're about to go out. There seems to be a little break in the traffic. Yeah, nice. So enjoy your race.
Thank you.
Drivers to your vehicles
Last race of the day.
John Osborne Saloons.
John Osborne Saloons. A few cars missing. Happens, I think, the last race on quite often this weekend. Anyway, it's a handicap race, and we'll now see if Timo can do a 146 in the little Peugeot, the Pug Stang. 30-second borders out. The sun is getting lower. You see it streaming in. It's in the eyes of the drivers on the front of the grid there. Makes it a bit tough. Red lights. And Timo's away. Little bit early. Maybe a little bit early. I'm not saying he... well, I am really. He was... Yeah.
No, look, we'll give credit where credit's due. You know, these guys are still out here on the last race of the day.
Yep.
An
yeah,
ice
absolutely.
cold beer hasn't summoned them off the track
No,
yet.
no. That's a good thought, though, isn't it? So, we'll see. And what's the gap for these guys? A bit. Okay, next lot are away. So not all the V8 supercars are out there, but have we got any out there? No, so none of them are out there. Okay. Third group away. The screen keeps jumping over to the end of the pack. We got one car.
Is that Jeff?
I think it is Jeff.
Yep.
I don't think Guy's in the car yet. So he's got all the way to lead. No pressure. Anyway, where's our leaders? Just coming out of...
Look for brightly coloured wheels.
Yeah, we're having to need sunglasses up here as well.
There they are, just
so
in the
there they are into the Southern Salvage S's. You'll just see the Peugeot will carry far more corner speed than the little BMW. Then the BMW will get its grip and just pull away, but come the corners and it's going to be all Peugeot. Now down the straight, poor old Peugeot's a little bit slow, but Timo will have a chance to grab a sandwich and a quick cup of tea before having to think about turn one. See him carry that corner speed through turn one. Gerald in the 325i is just pulled away a bit of a gap. And he can keep going if he's going to hold off the chasing pack. Oh, we've got is that some tyre smoke, I think? Yeah, looked like tyre smoke. Someone locked up in turn one.
Then Martin Perry's just done the fastest lap of the 138.
Right.
To then be smashed by Jeff Lusky.
Yeah, it is a
doing
37.
137.
Yep. He's going to need to go a bit quicker than that, I think, to catch these guys, though. It's getting a bit busy at the hairpin there as the leaders come out of Casino. Come on, Tim. Keep that Peugeot going. 5 laps to go.
And will he be driving that car home tonight?
He'll drive that car home tonight. Otherwise, how else would you get it home?
No, that's a very good point.
If you look closely, you probably see the warrant of fitness on the windscreen. So, fully road legal. If you missed seeing it in the pits, you can cruise down to fixations on Wordsworth Street, and it's quite often parked outside Tim's workshop there. He works on a lot of exotic motor vehicles. Peugeots. And Peugeots, yeah, exotic motor vehicles. And anything French. How's it going? 47 flat. That's pretty good in that little car, I tell you what. It's, I can remember, not that long ago, racing against Timo and and they were doing 51s. So the fact that he's now got that car down into 47.
That's bloody quick then.
Yeah, 3 or 4 seconds.
133.
1300cc, naturally aspirated. It's
Look at me.
Yeah, it's a cool little car.
Jeff Lusky still finding some pace, pulling 133 in that last lap.
But as you can see, with 4 laps to go, he's still got a bit of real estate to make up. And especially when our leaders are just coming through Southern Salvage and he is still at Euromark. So I'm assuming that Jeff's starting position was based on Guy's results. So in Jeff's defence, he hasn't probably done as many laps in that car this weekend as anyone else. So, but that's all right. He'll be enjoying himself.
And obviously, touching wood, what a successful weekend it's been.
It's been a great weekend. I was just saying earlier that we touch wood. We have not seen a car on the back of a truck having to come in, and I think down the pits everyone seems very happy. It's been a great weekend. A lot of big family weekend, of course. Very family. Sort of focused environment in the pits with the teams around. Great weekend. So credit to all those that have put on the event and all the work that's gone in. It's an amazing effort. So there's our leader coming around Euromark hairpin. He's out on his own. BMW 325i. Thanks to the guys upstairs that are sorting out all the board. We've now not got a whole list of cars on there with Sharp Racing, so we can see on one screen what's happening. Helps us. Commentary box. Right. Gerald's coming through to Southern Salvage. S's for 2 laps to go after this. And little Peugeot holding up that little
The little Peugeot that could.
E30, yeah. So he's oops, no, now we've put the curse on him. He's got a problem. He had a bit of an issue yesterday with that car, and he'd said to me, he said, I think it's got a CV issue. It's a little bit of a tap in the front right. He thought it might have been the wheels he was running, changed them, and it seemed like it had gone away, but no, he's coming into the pit, so commentator's curse. I'm sorry,
apologies there.
Tim.
I guess he has to be extra careful as well, otherwise he probably won't be getting home tonight or relying on some favours.
Yeah. Tim is one of those guys where if you want to see him in the pits, you can wander down there and you'll see his car parked up, and he won't be anywhere about because he'll be around helping someone. He's that guy. He's just a top bloke. And so, so a pity to see the Peugeot pull in, and I hope that's not anything too major, but he's that guy. He's fantastic. He's a real asset to Canterbury Car Club, to motorsport in general. So we got a lot of guys like that, but Tim is a absolute gem. So right, so we've got. They'll come around and they'll get the last lap board. I'm not sure the handicapper got this one quite right, but Gerald Hargraves will tell you that he got it perfectly right because there's still quite a bit of work to do to catch that little 325i. Last lap board is out. Where are you going, Archie? Is anyone going to catch him?
There's a fair chance, but
the car behind is 9 seconds or 8 seconds quicker, and the gap is 7.3 seconds. So maybe the handicapper might have got it close, but we will see. certainly.
If he keeps a perfect line throughout the race, or for this last lap, he'll be.
Yeah, certainly Jeff Lusky's got a bit of work to do. Come on, Gerald. So, as we Gerald comes through Casino, he's going to have that Martin Perry close at hand. It's still going to come down to the final straight. Got to keep it cool.
Checkered flag is out.
The checkered flag's waiting. We're not sure who it's waiting for first. So we look at them coming up into Avon City Ford Sweeper. It's going to be the little BMW versus the Toyota Supra. The Supra should have it in the straight line, and he does. He grabs it. Gerald takes second in the wee BMW 325. Datsun 240Z in for third. So not a bad job. I'll take back what I said about the handicapper. Good race, good clean race, and a great clean racing weekend. Thanks to all the spectators coming along, and that pretty much sums it up. We're going to hand over to Adam shortly for a final wrap for the weekend and for the live stream. Drive home safely, and we'll see you at the next motorsport events at Ruapuna.
Thanks, Victor. And thanks to the rest of the commentary team of Hayden Cook and Rob Cope-Williams for it's been great working with you guys this weekend. And a lot of people to thank. It's been a really great day. Thanks to Canterbury Car Club for bringing us down here to do this live stream. Hopefully everybody enjoyed it out there in the internet world and enjoyed it on the bank as well. So if you're here at the track, you can catch up with everything that happened again when you get home and have a look on YouTube on the Fast Files, and you'll be able to see it on the Canterbury Car Club website as well as the SKOPE Classic website. So it's going to be up all next week, so you can go have a look and pick out some of the things you saw and see some of your friends racing. But anyway, well, that's a wrap from SKOPE 2022, and hopefully we can come and do this again next year, and hopefully the weather's as beautiful as it has been today. We're just lining up here for the beginning of the historic touring cars. They're doing a 15-lap race, which is going to be a big one to start the day off. And then we've got a full field running through the same field of races as we did earlier in the day. So welcome back, everybody, and enjoy the afternoon. And so we will hopefully get these cars out on the grid very shortly and enjoy some afternoon racing.